Chapter 10:14. You're really a family. I want to ask how you earn the money. I believe what you said must be true. I want to know who came up with this idea. For the first time, Yanfei looked at Xiao Bei and the other 9 people seriously. In the past, Yanfei was afraid of their status and brothers and sisters. But now, he was treating the other party like an adult because the other party had the qualifications. Xiao Bei smiled and said, "Even if you ask, we won't tell you. We thought about this idea for many days before we came up with it and perfected it. Sister told brother to open a few more candy houses, but we don't want to continue to rely on brother and sister. We want to plan it ourselves. From then on, when we have time, we get together and think hard about how to get other matching things for the candy house. Just the candy house is fine. But that's not in line with the style of our Zhang family and Wang family." Uncle Emperor praised brother, saying that he doesn't come up with a plan easily, but if he does, he will definitely be successful. We can't ruin brother's reputation, right? As Xiao Bei spoke, Yin Fei kept nodding. Looking at Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan's serious and persistent appearance, he wished he could carry the 2 children over and kiss them on the left and right. They were really cute and sensible. They also knew how to do things in their family. It was very difficult to achieve such a level. Well, you continue to eat. Remember what we just discussed. When you go back, you have to implement it. After the tax exemption, you will find that the county's financial income is higher than before. At the same time, the people's trust in the government office is higher. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to find someone else. There are still a few places I haven't visited. You eat mutton, don't eat chicken. Choose some things and pack them up. Tomorrow, you can bring them back to the government office as a gift." Xiao Bei finished speaking to Yin Fei and waved his hand. He pulled Lu Feifei and Xiao Yuan and ran to another place. Yin Fei was stunned and did not move for a long time. He was also frightened. Qin Exan, who recovered faster, reminded him. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. "Brother Xinqing, the days in the county will get better and better in the future. You have to help me," Yin Fei said to Qin Xian. Qin Xian agreed and said, "Indeed, Xiao Bei's amusement park will be built in Hongnou. Also, with their business in Old Willow Village, as well as their cooperation with my family, they will value Hongnou a lot. With them valuing Hongnou, it won't be hard to live a bad life. Lord Yin, you have to stick to your bottom line. When you're done and ready to leave your post, they'll give you more compensation than you can get on your own. Of course, even if you gave me 100 guts, I wouldn't dare. Come, drink." As Yin Fei spoke, he picked up the bowl and finished it in one gulp. He was in an exceptionally good mood today. Not only had he not been punished, he had a development goal. Qin Xian followed suit and emptied the mutton leg as well. He took a bite and slowly refused. His eyes stared blankly at the flickering flames. Just like Qin Xian, there were others who were also lost in thought. However, they weren't looking at the flame, but at the sand table. Reporting, our brigade has suffered heavy losses. We couldn't stop the enemy's crazy breakthrough. During the hand-to-hand battle, our brigade's 2nd Regiment was completely wiped out. We lost our line of defense. The messenger's voice rang out. Only then did Tan Hu come back to his senses. He ordered the 2nd line of defense, no, the 3rd line of defense. Strengthen the defense. No matter the cost, push the enemy back. Send our brigade's personal guards to the 3rd line of defense. Waiting for the messenger to leave, Tan Hu's gaze became straight again. He seemed to be muttering to himself, but also speaking to the others in the room. Why did they suddenly become so strong? The hand-to-hand battle should have been our army's problem, but they fell in batches. What did they do? The other generals were also looking at the sand table. They were also puzzled. One of them asked, could it be that they used new weapons? After saying that, he didn't wait for the others to answer. He denied it himself. Impossible. This point is not within the scope of the military selection. We can only fight and wait for the support of the nearby logistical forces. No matter what, we have to keep this brigade. Otherwise, once they break through, they will get more supplies. With artillery, they will be a greater threat to our main forces. I request permission to take the remaining brigade members and personally stop them. Reporting, our 2nd line of defense has been broken through by the enemy. The enemy is continuing to advance and will soon come into contact with the third line of defense. The third line of defense's long-range troops are attacking. Another messenger came in and reported to Tan Hu. The expressions of Tan Hu and the others became more and more serious. Order the soldiers at the first line of defense to report quickly. Why did the enemy's attacks become so fierce? Wrong. Order the soldiers at the second line of defense to report that the first line of defense has been completely wiped out. Tan Hu was stunned by the enemy's breakthrough. For a moment, he forgot about the tragedy at the first line of defense and that his brigade was down by a regiment. Reporting, the second line of defense has sent people to check on the survivors. Reporting, our third line of defense has been broken through. Our allies from the surrounding areas are chasing after them. Reporting, our pursuers have encountered stubborn resistance from the enemy. A small portion of the enemy has left the battlefield and is continuing the pursuit. The messenger reported again and again. Every time, Tan Hu's breathing quickened. The generals in the room also frowned. After a while, Tan Hu said, "We underestimated the enemy this time. It's not that the enemy isn't strong enough. They just thought that they were strong at the beginning, so they were tricked. Now, they've set their mentality and are treating us as strong enemies, but we're still immersed in our previous victory. I reckon that 2 of our brigade's regiments have been wiped out, and the rest won't be able to stop the enemy. After all, our opponents are generals who have studied under the little lady for a while. Although they haven't studied for as long as us, some of the generals are from the families of generals." The person who spoke earlier spoke again. "Yes, the Great Tang. It's the Great Tang after all. The advanced weapons of the Great Tang aren't just for show. If they really adjust, they'll really make us feel the pressure. Don't think about it. Try your best to chase after them and gather the remaining people. My logistics brigade still has to continue fighting. It'll be difficult for me to enter the inner yard this time." That's good. It shows that the Great Tang's overall strength is high. If they really can't break through, I'll be sad. Tan Hu also adjusted his mentality. He hadn't entered the inner yard yet. Most of the logistics brigade was like this. The commanders of the inner yard were the main force, and the logistics brigade was an opportunity for selection. While Tan Hu felt sorry for himself, he felt happy for the Great Tang. It was very contradictory. However, he didn't know that he really couldn't enter the inner yard. Because of his words, Li Longji personally interceded for him and asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to let him enter the inner yard. Li Longji had been looking at the sand table. The battle was intense, and another attack and defense battle appeared before his eyes. When he heard the messenger repeat what Tan Hu said in the room, he smiled proudly. He said to Empress Wang beside him, "The people of the Great Tang always think of the Great Tang." Even though this person called Tan Hu clearly knows that he has no hope of entering the inner yard, he still feels proud of the Great Tang. I have to talk to Xiaobao and Cuckoo to let this person in. How loyal must he be to say such words? Your Majesty is right. With them around, the Great Tang has no worries. Look at that Yang Chong. He'll probably be here soon. His last 3,000 or so people will be finished. Less than 300 people will be able to escape, and they still have to pass through the mountain fire. If they're not careful, they'll encounter a situation where the ashes come back, and they'll lose more people. Yang Chong is really wronged. If he had fought like this from the start and showed his determination to cut off all means of retreat, would he have lost a brigade? This can be considered as him being loyal to the country. Empress Wang evaluated as she looked at the sand table. At the same time, she recalled the battle just now. The sand table showed that the battle just now had started before dawn. Yang Chong gathered all his forces and attacked toward the north, not caring about how many people would die. Yang Chong, who was in the room, seemed to be immersed in the battle. He kept roaring, "Attack, attack! Raise your bayonets and fight the last battle for the Great Tang." Then, he ordered that all the rifle bullets were to be given to the final breakout team, led by Kong Lu. Because it was common, it could be used on the few submachine guns and machine guns in the brigade. The people in charge of the front line only raised their bayonets and used their lives to pave a path. When the enemy was stubborn, as long as they found that most of the people charging at the front were dead, regardless of whether there were still people alive, the second row of soldiers behind would throw a few grenades and blasting canisters forward, blowing up their own people as well. That was why the breakout speed was so fast. They didn't give the enemy any chance to resist. They exchanged lives for lives, only chasing after time. Li Ji also brought people to fight with the enemy and was in charge of blocking the enemy's pursuit. In the end, Yang Chong killed them all. He personally rushed up to fight with the enemy and then shouted as he threw a grenade at me. He was the first to die. Kong Lu brought his 500 men to break out of the encirclement. There were 200 spearmen, and the rest were pistols, submachine guns, and machine guns. The bullets from the submachine guns and machine guns poured out like rain. Then, the spearmen were in charge of hand-to-hand combat. At this time, the advantage was finally revealed. Whether it was swords or spears, they all fell when facing the spearmen. Charge! Our brothers used their lives to pave the path for us. Charge out. Those who run out of bullets, stay behind. I will burn incense and kowtow to you during festivals. You are the soul of the great Tang army. Because the messenger's report was very close to the truth, Kong Lu was particularly engrossed in it. For a moment, he forgot that it was fake. He really thought that so many of his brothers had died. He took out a gun from the holster on his waist and waved it around as he shouted with all his might. He shouted until his voice was hoarse and his face was covered in tears. Everyone in the surrounding houses could hear him clearly. He still hadn't recovered from this state. Report: our army has broken through the layers of the enemy's blockade and successfully entered the burning area. There are 79 people left. The messenger reported again, shouting the same way. Got it. Those who are injured, stay behind. The rest, continue forward. Don't stop. If I die, every soldier who rushes out alive, send a message to our vanguard. Run, run. Our great Tang will avenge us. Our great Tang still is Cuckoo. Cuckoo will. That's right, this is the sand table. Martial selection. Cuckoo is our opponent. No one died, right? Yang Chong and Li Ji are still alive. My throat hurts. Go and get me some medicine. This is bad. Others will laugh at me. Why didn't you remind me? Who designed the sand table model? I hate them. I wanted to eat spicy hot pot for dinner. Now, I can continue to drink clear soup. Li Ji came back to his senses as he spoke. He raised his hand to wipe his tears and blew his nose. He spoke with grievance. The messenger also felt wronged. When you pulled out the pistol, I already said it. You didn't listen. Who is to blame? I didn't say it was your fault. Go and get the medicine. Kong Lu waved his hand embarrassedly at the messenger and chased him out. He looked at the sand table again. As he looked, he smiled. So, it's safe for me to bring my men? The speed of chasing and running is not much different. If we split up a little, it will be enough for them to get busy. Come, pass down my order. The rest of you, form groups of 2 and look for the main vanguard. Return to the team. Kong Lu gave another order. He then pinched the skin on his throat and stretched it. He grimaced. It hurts so much. It's burning. It's all gone. A brigade of 5,000 people, and only these few are left. I wonder how low my rank will fall. Maybe I'll be chased back home to be a farmer. Then I'll go to school to be a teacher for the children. I'll teach them how to read and write. I'll also teach them military affairs. I'll tell the children that when they grow up to be generals, they should never underestimate any native. When Kong Lu's voice stopped, Yang Chong and Li Ji also arrived at the center of the sand table. Although they could leave directly, they didn't want to. Yang Chong was the first to die. He went to the door of Li Ji's room and waited for him to come out. He knew that Li Ji couldn't have survived. Li Ji also saw the brigade commander. He was originally very focused, but when he saw Yang Chong, he couldn't help but laugh. He gave another order. He clapped his hands and looked at the messenger. The messenger immediately told him that he had died. He then walked out of the door and followed Yang Chong to the center. Do you think the emperor is asleep? I think Shi Chunjung is secretly laughing. We finally came to accompany him. This battle was a mess. I don't know if he will lose his position. You, the brigade commander, and I, the regiment commander, are both not qualified. Li Ji, who gave up the idea of fighting, was much more relaxed. As for the future, he didn't care about it. He smiled and said to Yang Chong, Yang Chong smacked his lips and patted his forehead with his hand. He said, Wang Wan's people are really powerful. I can't help but admire them. My brigade is probably completely wiped out. I just don't know if Kong Lu ran out with his people. Let's go. We'll see them when we get to the center of the sand table. If he ran out, our responsibility will be less. If he waited for us there, I think the Emperor will treat us to an unforgettable meal. It's almost time for dinner. Actually, I want to eat seafood. I also want to eat the seafood of the Blue Sea Silver Sand restaurant. But if I lose my position, I won't be able to find a place to eat for free once a month. When I see the Emperor later, I'll ask for seafood, the kind that is dry and made. Li Ji laughed at himself and walked into the center with Yang Chong. He looked up. Sure enough, the Emperor was also waiting for dinner and hadn't rested yet. Li Longji's seat was very high. He had deliberately made it so that it would look good. The chair was the one that was moved from Xingqing Palace yesterday. It was the one that he always sat on. It was very big. Usually when Xiao Bei and the others ate or chatted with him at Xingqing Palace, they would always squeeze together with him. Li Longji hadn't seen Xiao Bei and the other 9 children for a few days. He missed them, so he asked someone to bring chairs. At the same time, he decided that if Xiao Bei and the others found out that the Yamen officials in Jiangzhou were biased, they would be severely punished. Without a group of children, the entire Xingqing Palace became cold and cheerless. It was not fun at all. Otherwise, why would they want to stay in the hibiscus garden? It was still a little cold in early spring. It was not as comfortable as the palace. Li Longji was thinking about how Xiao Bei and the other children looked when they were playing happily. He happened to see Yang Chong and Li Ji come in. He looked down at them and asked flatly, You two have worked hard. Yang Chong and Li Ji didn't dare to answer. They stood obediently at the door like children who had made a mistake. They lowered their heads. What did you do earlier? Didn't the assault team organize very well? The moment you were surrounded, you directly led the team to the north. How could the crippled regiment in the north stop you? Other than the regiment headquarters and a few personal guards, they didn't have anyone else. They insisted on setting up camp and being surrounded, didn't they? The other side's logistics team almost wiped out all of you. Even I feel embarrassed for you. Li Longji continued to scold the two of them. Yang Chong and Li Ji kept their heads down, but they were cursing in their hearts. Who knew what the situation was at that time? We didn't see the sand table in the center, and the hot air balloon team fell first. Who dared to say that he could tell? As if he could guess what the two were thinking, Li Longji said, Don't find excuses for yourself. Back then, under what circumstances did Cuckoo and Xiao Bao enter Tubo? How did Cuckoo fight? She dared to run in circles on the mountain with an enemy force that was several times her size. She ran and fought while organizing her team. Why else do you think I value her so much? There were many people who could win a battle, but how many people could achieve the same effect as Cuckoo in the past? Steady, steady, you just want to be steady because your weapons are more advanced and your communication speed is faster. If it was Cuckoo leading the Great Tang army and using advanced weapons to attack you natives, you would have been finished long ago. Cuckoo can beat you until you cry. Do you believe it? Yang Chong and Li Ji were very unwilling to admit it, but they had no choice. This was because many of the tactics they learned were taught by Wang Wan. For example, this breakout was a choice in the most helpless situation that Wang Wan had said at that time. It was the last method to protect an important person or pass on important information. Gathering all the superior firepower, ignoring the casualties on their side, and staining the road forward with blood, the prerequisite was that all the soldiers had to be loyal enough. Now that they didn't see Kong Lu, they probably succeeded. It was really useful. All the handguns and repeating rifles were gathered together, and the sudden attack was too fast. It was really easy to destroy. Speak. If you don't speak, I will really revoke your positions. Seeing that this is the last time you made a choice, I will spare you this time. At that time, someone even told me that I could find an opportunity to capture both the Zhang family and the Wang family. Do you see the situation today? Capture? What is the equipment of the seedling protection team? Each person is equipped with 2 handguns, 1 submachine gun, and 8 grenades. If not, how can I rest assured when I send Xiao Bei and the rest out? Today, Li Longji listened to the referee's evaluation of various data, and he truly felt the strength of the elite firearms unit. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yang Chong and Li Ji finally spoke and said the same 4 words in unison. "Thank you to everyone for your support and votes. Someone even gave me 10,000 renminbi as a tip for a monthly vote. I will try my best to write and try my best to write. I'll say it again. Don't give me money like that. In the past, there were people who gave me money like that. They gave 10,000, 10,000, 50,000, 50,000, and even 1,888,000 was not a small amount. 588 was even more. But you can't do this. I'm not worthy of it. I'm already satisfied to be able to subscribe and read it. If you praise me in the book review, I will be happy for the whole day. Thank you, brothers and sisters. But when it's time to save, I will save. Since you gave me money, I will not return it. When I spend money, I will also be happy. Sometimes I feel conflicted. I want to get more royalties, but I don't want others to pay too much. I admit that I am a hypocrite. Those who have a recommendation vote, don't forget to vote for me. Praise me again. Thank you. I will bow to everyone. Yes, bow. You want me to beg? Brothers and sisters, you know that I will not do that. I am a stubborn author. I always feel that writers should at least have some strength of character. Bow, bow. Chapter 10:15. Go. Li Longji waved his sleeves. He knew that Yang Chong and Li Gui didn't want to stay in front of him any longer. As expected, Yang Chong and Li Gui hurriedly ran to the sand table and took a closer look. So the main force is in Huangshan. They arrived early. It's over. Zhang Shougui still foolishly came forward. He shouldn't have sent out all the hot air balloons back then. Yang Chong looked at the sand table and understood everything. Wang Wan's main force wasn't in Yuezhou as he had expected. Instead, they had run to Huangshan to look at the model on the sand table. They were in the midst of civil engineering. Li Gui paid attention to a very small model. Kong Lu has run out. Hurry up. Tell the vanguard that the enemy's smoke is asymmetrical. What unit is this? Central Sniper Battalion? How did they get there? No wonder the radio station couldn't send any news. They were all shot down. It's the unit that shot down your hot air balloons. The 1st Battalion has more than 700 people. From top to bottom, there are 14 commanders. They are all from the inner yard. The earliest commander is Wang Yi, a 2nd-year student. The rest are 4th-year students. Every 4th-year student can lead a battalion. This unit is only in charge of a small unit. There is a detailed summary of the battle on the table. Go take a look. Shi Chun's voice came from beside Li Gui. Li Gui had a deep impression of Shi Chun. He was captured alive, mocked his own people, and gave out a lot of information that was both true and false. Hearing his words, Li Gui said with an ugly expression, "Then I have to congratulate you for entering the inner yard. Why didn't the Sniper Battalion burn you to death? Is it because they are from the inner yard? Invulnerable to fire and water? Thank you. Congratulations to you, too. While you were covering the rear, your commands were pretty good. They were much stronger than you when it came to attacking. Just look at the information and you'll know what the sniper camp has done. You'll also be able to understand how elite their personnel are. I admire Wang Yi, as expected of a 2nd-year student. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to do as well as him. I would probably have died long ago, not to mention being able to lead troops. After splitting up, they continued to pose a great threat to the enemy's army. Shi Chun didn't care about the other party's unfriendly tone. He smiled and pointed to a paper beside him, indicating that it was the file of the Sniper Battalion. Li Ji clearly knew that the other party was not wrong, but he still felt uncomfortable in his heart. It was obvious that the other party was stepping on him to get to the top. The benefits of the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and the Wang family were extraordinarily good, and he could learn even more skills. Just by going out and carrying all kinds of thoughtful supplies in their bags, countless people who also had families were envious of them, not to mention the care their families received. Li Gong snorted angrily and looked at the paper. It was very thick, about 30 sheets. Sweeping his gaze elsewhere, he noticed that there were countless sheets of paper in the central area. There's also a group of people calculating, a group of people discussing, a group of people comparing the rules, a group of people walking in and out, and a group of people riding with their heads lowered. "What are these?" Li Ji asked Shi Chun instead of taking the information from the sniper camp. "It is a record of the changes in the battlefield. This is the first and largest sand table simulation of the Great Tang, and it is also the most time-consuming one. Every detail of the battlefield must be recorded, including the marching route and the commander's judgment. When the time comes, it will be easy to review and use as teaching material. At the same time, it will also test the commanding ability of the commanders. Our Great Tang will need to make adjustments internally. For example, you're not suitable for fighting in a siege. You're suitable for covering the rear and defending. It is a waste of talent to assign you to the offensive formation, and it is also a mistake on the part of the decision-maker. Let me evaluate you. Your performance is very good in the later stages. When you were commanding the rear, you were able to accurately command every single troop. When our Great Tang really goes to war, you and I will be in charge of defense, because I can't attack. At that time, we will fight side by side for the protection of our hearts and for the dignity of the Great Tang." As Shi Chun spoke, he stretched out his right hand. Li Ji hesitated for a moment before stretching out his right hand to shake Shi Chun's. "All right, you will be in charge of the calculations, and I will be in charge of the preparation. Everything for the dignity of the Great Tang. After the martial arts examination, you have to treat me to a drink. Otherwise, I will feel uncomfortable. I will also give you a gift to congratulate you on entering the inner courtyard. Your family must have spent a lot of money on this martial arts examination, right?" Li Ji made his choice in a very short period of time. He was magnanimous mainly because he heard Shi Chun's words and felt that if he continued to fuss over such trivial matters, he would be too petty. The interests of the Great Tang were above all else. The smile on Shi Chun's face became even brighter. "Of course. Please, let's go to the Savant's Pavilion. Xiaobei promised me before that once I entered the inner courtyard, she would let me eat the good things she left behind. It's a pity that she wasn't around when I was fighting." "Xiaobei knows you too?" Li Ji asked enviously. "Xiaobei knows many people. When they have nothing to do, they will often wander around the inner and outer courtyards. When they see people who are idle, they will go over to talk to them. We like them very much, and we try our best to tell them what we know. The goal is to nurture them to be more powerful. We are very afraid that the masters we follow in the future will be stupid and will cause our own deaths. I look forward to them growing up and protecting them." When speaking of Xiaobei and the others, a gratified and caring expression appeared on Shi Chun's face. Then he said, "My family spent a lot of money this time. Wait for me, I will ask." Shi Chun threw down these words and ran out to find someone to ask. Li Ji's gaze followed Shi Chun's back as he said to Yang Chong, "Perhaps one doesn't have to become an official to bring glory to one's ancestors. It is enough to be part of the inner courtyards of the Zhang clan and Wang clan. I have always felt that the inner courtyards of the Zhang clan and Wang clan are another set of personnel that can replace the civil and military officials of the Great Tang at any time. They can go out and establish a new country at any time, but they still stay in the Great Tang. What is their purpose?" "Sure." Yang Chong immediately became nervous. He placed his index finger in front of his mouth and shushed him. "Don't shush. It's not like you're peeing on a child. We will tell you why." Li Longji's voice suddenly sounded behind Li Ji, giving Li Ji a fright. "The reason why Xiao, Bao, and Cuckoo's inner courtyards are nurtured this way is so that they can be prepared to kill at any time. If a problem appears in the military and political system of a certain province, they can go over and kill them all. Then, they can immediately replace them with the inner courtyards to ensure that the local government operates normally. If any regional governor thinks that without him, there will be a gap in the military and administration of our Great Tang, Cuckoo and Xiao Bao will let him know that it doesn't matter whether he is there or not. No matter how capable the local officials are or how much power they have, they must always remember that they are not allowed to challenge the royal court. We will pass down the order in the capital that they are not allowed to play any tricks and use the stability of a region to threaten us. Otherwise, we will send Xiaobei and the others out first. If the local officials dare to resist, Cuckoo and Xiao Bao will bring people over to kill them. After killing 1,000 people from the military and political system, we will send another 1,000 people over. Li Longji spoke in a dictatorial manner. He wasn't afraid that his words would spread out and cause the local officials to be displeased. Yang Chong and Li Gong swallowed their saliva and nodded their heads. Li Gong was the first to reply. Yes, yes, Your Majesty. Your will is our code of conduct. Wherever your sword points to, we will fight to the death. We definitely won't dare to go against the orders of the royal court. Yang Chong added, Yes, we understand. The royal court isn't afraid of us becoming arrogant. As generals, we also don't dare to raise bandits. We will always remember that there are people who can replace us at any time. Li Longji, who had achieved his goal, nodded his head to Wei Wei. We have always believed in you. Actually, Cuckoo and Xiao Bao's inner courtyards aren't used to replace the officials of Great Tang. Instead, when they are expanding their territory, they won't lack administrative and military personnel. I know how much money you have spent. Shi Chun ran over. Your Majesty, you are here too? I've always been here. How much money did your family spend? Li Longji glared at Shi Chun. His meaning was, I was far away just now. Can you pretend you didn't see me? Yes, I've always been here. I was careless. According to your Majesty's estimation, based on a month's time, we have spent a total of 600,000 strings of cash. If we can't finish it in a month, we will have to invest more. Shi Chun drew a 6 with his hand. So much? Li Longji didn't expect the military examination to cost 600,000 strings of cash. When he said that the royal court would pay for it, it was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo who took the initiative to bear the cost. 600,000 strings of cash was indeed a lot. Although it didn't matter to the Zhang family and Wang family, it was calculated based on their wealth. In reality, 600,000 strings of cash could do a lot of things. A dough of millet was only worth 9 copper coins in the capital. If one were to look at it from a higher perspective, it would be 10 copper coins for a dough. 600,000 strings of cash was equivalent to 60 million dough. Li Longji also understood that money couldn't always be calculated as grain. There were also luxury goods and other daily necessities. There were many people with hundreds of thousands of strings of cash, but no one dared to use all of it to buy grain. Otherwise, Xiao Bao would immediately deal with them. He would never allow anyone to hoard such a large amount of daily necessities. Li Ji and Li Ji were also shocked by this number. The two of them didn't understand how the money was spent, but they didn't doubt Shi Chun's words. This was because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't get any benefits from the royal court, even if they spent 6 million strings of cash, let alone 600,000 strings of cash. There was no need to lie. No one would reimburse them. Shi Chun also knew what they were thinking. He explained, one is the cost of building the house, and the other is the cost of making the sand table and small models. There are also subsidies for the relevant personnel. We can't let people work for free. Little young master and little lady's purpose for the military examination wasn't just to become the martial champion, but more so to collect information. That's why the scale was so big. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to use the central sand table and countless small sand tables to carry out the military examination. They just needed to use the elimination system and fight in pairs. The final winner would have to play a small sand table simulation with Little Lady. However, Little Young Master and Little Lady wanted a comprehensive analysis. The most important thing was the ability of the large army to cooperate in battle. Shi Chun's words made Li Longji and the other two nod. It was indeed so. They all understood. Normally, the martial champion would definitely be Wang Wan. However, Wang Wan had deliberately increased the difficulty. Her goal wasn't for the title of martial champion, but for the overall military command of the Great Tang. Shi Chun continued. There's also the cost of the hibiscus garden. The hibiscus garden is open for a large portion of the time. It's open for free. Now, the entire hibiscus garden is under martial law and no one is allowed to enter. The commoners naturally have fewer places to go. Therefore, Little Young Master and Little Lady took out money to subsidize the zoo, skating rink, and other places. The commoners can go there to play. Those who want to hold a poetry banquet in the hibiscus garden will also pay to send them elsewhere. Li Longji and the other two understood that this was how money was spent. Li Gui couldn't figure out. If the hibiscus garden is occupied, then so be it. What else do the commoners dare to say? They don't dare, Shirchun replied. Just because they don't dare, it doesn't mean that they don't want to. It's easy to shut people's mouths, but hard to win their hearts. Little young master said that if he wanted to occupy other people's places, not to mention the hibiscus garden, who would dare to disobey him? However, they shouldn't do that. Only those who don't have enough power and status will think of showing off in front of others. When one's status reaches a certain level, they won't use their power to oppress others. For example, Your Majesty. The entire Great Tang belongs to Your Majesty, but Your Majesty still has a standard when doing things. What you should think of is not how much sacrifice the commoners should make, but how you should consider the commoners' interests. With this, Yang Chong and Li Gui could no longer raise any other opinions. Li Longji nodded repeatedly. That's right. In the past, when I went out, part of the money was paid by the imperial court, and the other part was paid by the local government. It was a waste of money and people. Now, I prefer to go out and not use the imperial court's money or the local government's hospitality. I have money, so I can buy it with money. However, I don't use my money. It's all paid by Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They will arrange it. When I went to Jili province, I found that the lower the rank, the more arrogant they are. A provincial governor's son actually bullied people there. He bullied Xiao Bei and my Jun and Pan How arrogant is he? Yang Chong and Li Gui were also stunned. Their status was not high enough, so they didn't go to Jili province. They didn't know what happened there, and only heard the emperor mention it now. Who is so daring? Bullied Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei didn't beat him? As a general, Li Gui's first thought was to use force to solve the problem. Beat what? Xiao Bei kept giving in. He even discussed building a snowman with that kid. In the end, there was no other way, so he caught that kid's father. If Xiao Bei didn't insist on handling it impartially, I would have cut off his head. Just tell me, how ambitious is this person? He actually dared to cause trouble in Jili province. He doesn't know how to use his power when he has reached a certain level. People who have reached a certain level of status are all easygoing. They think about others and show off because they feel inferior. Li Longji was still angry when he mentioned this. Li Gui and Yang Chong nodded in agreement. Your Majesty is reasonable. People always say that the county magistrate is not as good as the current one. In fact, it's because the county magistrate doesn't want to argue with ordinary people. Only the current one is worried that others don't value him and feel inferior. Therefore, he always looks for opportunities to prove his status. Therefore, the military selection has been going on for a month. The young master and young lady spent 600,000 strings of cash. The information collected from the various commanders is very precious. In the future, I will take it out and explain in class. The young lady said that the analysis isn't about who is right or wrong. During war, everyone is scheming against each other. What we need to analyze is a pattern. When the generals go to war in the future, they will have a few comparisons under different circumstances. Then they can choose. This way, they can save time and energy. Shirchun took over the conversation. When he talked about the young master and young lady, his face was full of admiration. Look, this is how we do it. Divide it into 3 sides. No matter which side it will look like the front. After making it, we have to color it. It was already noon in Old Willow Village. The market outside was still lively. However, Xiaobei didn't want to cross the bridge and went out for a stroll. It was not fun to be surrounded by a group of people. They hid in the village and waited for the boat. When the boat sent by the family arrived, they could take the boat along the canal and then change to the Yangtze River to Jiangzhou. There were still 2 days of free time. Originally, there were boats on the Yellow River that could directly enter Hongnong to carry people. However, due to the decision of Xiao Bei and the others, they changed. They changed to a fleet with more boats that had just been sent out from the capital. Xiao Bei and the others planned to transport a batch of dolls to Jiangzhou, as well as the local specialties of Hongnong and the specialties of the places along the Yellow River to the east. When the fleet arrived, they would buy and load the goods. When they stopped in Jiangzhou, they would sell the goods. Not only would they be able to earn back the cost of the journey, but they would also have some savings. Normally, they would be able to earn a lot more. However, there were many people in the fleet. There were more than 1,500 people, so the cost had to be included. The 9 children had already discussed it. After dealing with the matters in Jiangzhou, they would transport a batch of goods back and sell them in the capital. This way, they wouldn't need to pay extra for their family, and their pocket money would also increase. The dolls to be sold were all prepared. Now, Xiao Bei had a new request. He asked people to make the dolls according to 3 sides. Each side would be the front, and it would be a very, very big doll. It would be more than 10 feet tall and 3 meters tall. Xiao Zhu was in charge of the design, and Xiao Hai was in charge of the calculations. The people of Old Willow Village helped to make the dolls. They didn't care why Xiao Bei wanted to make such dolls, nor did they remind him that they didn't look good. Anyway, if Xiao Bei asked them to do it, they would do it. Not to mention making dolls. Even if they were asked to use thin willow branches and weave patterns to make a 2-story building, they wouldn't hesitate at all. This was because everyone liked Xiao Bei and the others. When the 9 children stood together, they didn't need to mention how powerful they were or how much money they had. Just by relying on their cute looks and sensible characters, they made people have an idea that they couldn't refuse their request. Lu Feifei, who had become an official, was very busy last night. She went to worship the ancestors. Old Willow walked at the front, and she followed closely behind. She even wrote an oration, burned incense, and kowtowed. From then on, her family's branch was listed as the main branch in the clan. She was busy until the wee hours of the morning before she went to sleep. Just as she woke up and washed up, she saw the strange big doll as soon as she went out. She approached Xiao Bei and asked, "Xiao Bei, it doesn't look good. It's a front on all 3 sides. What does it look like from the side? There's a big horn that's facing people. It's not for people to play with. Put it at the intersection, the triangular intersection. I'll make an advertisement. Look at the map. I'll find it for you." Xiao Bei ran out and came back with a roll. He unfolded it and showed it to Lu Feifei. It was the military map of Jiangzhou. The scale of the map and the actual area was not big, but could be seen clearly. On a road in Jiangzhou, there was a triangular intersection. Lu Feifei looked and pondered. Then she said, "Should we put a doll with 4 sides at the intersection of Hongnon? It happens to be at the amusement park and the south platform that connects to the train. We should also make a big doll. It'd be best if it could help promote Old Willow Village. Yes, it has to be placed. It has to be woven beautifully so that people can feel how exquisite Old Willow Village's craftsmanship is." Xiao Bei had a look of, "I have such a plan." Lu Feifei looked at the map and then looked at the big doll that was still in the process of being made. She suggested, "Why don't a few people from our village go with you? When you arrive in Jiangzhou, you can find willow twigs and weave them. You don't have to occupy the space of a big doll on the way, so you can put more goods." "Sister Feifei, we don't need that little space. I just want to take the big doll there. As soon as we arrive, we'll put the doll at the intersection and tell the officials of Jiangzhou that we're here." "That's how it should be," Xiao Bei said firmly. Chapter 10:16. When the fleet arrived, Xiao Bei's dolls were finally finished by the craftsmen of Old Willow Village. They were transported along the Hongnon River to the Yellow River. Xiao Bei's team of 9 once again treated the villagers to a big meal of pure seafood. Then they bid farewell. The villagers once again sent them off with tears in their eyes, all the way to the shore of the Honglu River. The farewell team grew bigger and bigger. Xiao Bei's team put away the flags that represented their identity, but the people of Hongnon County helped them raise the rice seedlings flag. They knew who had paid for the reconstruction of Hongnon County and the compensation. The patrol team of 9 was in the limelight for a while. When the boat entered the Yellow River, there were people on the shore sending them off. Some were drivers, some were on horseback, and some were on donkeys. When Xiao Bei's boat entered the Yellow River and met up with the waiting fleet, those who could not keep up with the speed stopped and waved from afar. "Xiao Yuan, tell me, why is every departure so sad?" Xiao Bei wiped his tears and asked Xiao Yuan, who had been standing at the stern of the boat with him. "Because the time spent together is too short and too careless. Only the moment of separation will you feel that happiness is far away. It is a kind of habit and also a kind of feeling, so you have to cherish what you have by your side. Don't neglect the things around you, because you're always dependent on each other. Xiao Yuan also wiped his tears. He also could not bear to leave the people of Hongnon County. Xiao Yuan, you are so nice. I know. I have to cherish Hua, even if it is a cat. I will go and feed it fish. You just stand there, ah. Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan gratefully and ran to the cabin. There should be a stray cat that he had picked up on the way there. Xiao Yuan looked at Xiao Bei's running figure and was stunned for a while. Hua, that shriveled-up cat? That's not what I meant. Your comprehension is too poor. Is the cat more important than me? Well, there's actually another explanation for sadness. That is, when you give, you don't get anything in return, not even a little bit. Of course, when you give, you're happy. Then Hua, you give. I'll drink cat soup tonight, and I believe you're happy too. Xiao Yuan left the bow in a huff. He was ready to ask brother Xiao Hai about the formula of killing a cat, or find his sister Xiao Zhu to draw a big dog, or something to scare Hua into jumping into the Yellow River. At that time, he would definitely stop Xiao Bei and tell her that the moment of life was the moment of glory. Let's see who would dare to go down and save her. Xiao Bei ran to the cabin and searched for Hua, but he couldn't find her. He asked a lot of people and finally confirmed that Hua didn't come on board. He muttered angrily, I won't have a cat anymore. My brother was right. Cats are not as good as dogs. Dogs know how to be loyal to their owners, but cats are different. It's just like the Japanese. No matter how good you are to them, it's useless. No wonder the Japanese can't beat the great Tang. It's like a cat can't beat a dog. They have no class and don't recognize their own status. Huh, where did little Yuan go? Little Yuan is still the best, always protecting me. Uncle Emperor is also protecting me. He seems to have asked me why I have to pay half of the profits tax-free. I haven't answered yet. Uncle Emperor can't wait too long, right? Thinking of this, Xiao Bei shouted, someone send a report to the capital and find Uncle Emperor. Tell him about the tax exemption. Don't forget to tell Uncle Emperor that I'll bring him delicious food when I come back. Don't be angry. Li Longji truly was worried, not because of Xiao Bei and the others, but because of Zhang Shouge. On the sand table, Zhang Shougui's 15,000 vanguard had stopped at the crucial moment and was slowly inching toward Mount Huangshan. Their goal was to eliminate the battalion that was following behind them. But even now, they had still not discovered the enemy. At the same time, Cuckoo had gathered 60,000 soldiers and was preparing for a major battle on Mount Huangshan. Everything that needed to be arranged was more or less done. All that was left was the final detail and the speed of the enemy's main force. Li Longji was worried about Zhang Shougue. They were about to break into the inescapable net and wait to eliminate the battalion behind them. There was no battalion behind them, only a small squad of 30 people. They had already eaten up several information relay squads and fled. For the last day, Li Longji had been watching Little Dong's squad. Because they were advancing, it was impossible to gather information. The sand table had been removed, so Little Dong could only follow the map. When a messenger reported to Little Dong that the enemy had left clear carriage tracks, Little Dong knew that he could not be discovered because it was impossible for carriage tracks to be clear. They still had to walk. As the army advanced, the supply team could not move alone. But when the messenger reported the conclusion of the referees, Little Dong knew that they were baiting him. Little Dong felt that his opponent was teasing him. Did they not know his position in the inner courtyard? He was not in charge of attacking, nor was he in charge of covering the rear. Of course, he was also not a tracking commander. He was a commander who had scanned the terrain and arranged his men. He was a suppressive commander who could fire with his eyes closed. One of his specialties was concealment and his ability to judge the situation. Even if he saw the enemy pass by his range of attack, he was not allowed to fire without orders or if the battle was not in a stalemate. Firing would only expose him. His role was to be used at the crucial moment. For example, when the enemy was about to take the high ground, he would spit out a tongue of fire from an unexpected place, causing the enemy to nurse a grievance on the spot. In their panic, they would not dare to rashly advance, giving their own troops time to reinforce their defenses. If he wanted to conceal himself, he naturally had to understand the tracks and the mentality of the people. The enemy had left too many flaws. Did they think that he was a fool? Divide into 5 people and advance as a suicide squad. Travel in a straight line for an hour. If they do not return after an hour, we will judge them to be dead. When Little Dong was faced with the situation of the tracks, he cautiously chose to send people to their deaths. When he gave the order to the messenger, his face was as cold as ice. Adhering to Wang Wan's fighting style, he gave the order with a heart of steel. The messenger replied quickly. After an hour, no one returned. Little Dong was clear about everything. The 5 people were killed without even having the time to light a fire or send a message. This meant that the enemy had sent out their elites. Little Dong glanced at the map and began to calculate. Where was the main force? Lady Cuckoo's fighting style was that she had no style and was too casual. But Little Young Master had his own style. Little Young Master was unpredictable in terms of economy. When it came to organizing logistics, he always had his own style. That was strict. He could allow his troops to receive supplies very comfortably. Where is Little Young Master's logistics? To whom did they supply? Why didn't they appear here? We were the ones who lit the fire. No logistics appeared in the north of the fire. We didn't even find a trace. In other words, the main force was not in the north. But if the main force was not there, there must be scouts flying in the sky. Now, there was not even an eagle. Little Young Master had taught him how to not give the enemy any hints and opportunities to discover. One is to retreat, one is a pocket, and the other is to hide and cross. Little Young Master Cuckoo's army can't cross and hide. There are too many people. Retreat? We have already scattered the enemy's forces. Why should we retreat? The enemy's information relay was responsible for the communication between the north and south of the fire area. It was accidentally destroyed by our battalion. Will Little Young Master let go of this opportunity? Little Dong looked at the map and analyzed. He wanted to know where the main force was and then send a message. He also knew that this was a habit he had developed over the years. Little Young Master always emphasized that information was information. Whoever had the information would have the initiative. I'll bet that Little Young Master has arranged the army at the front line of Mount Huangshan. Leave 20 people and spread out. Light the smoke for me. The smoke must be thick. The remaining 5 people protect me. Go north for 50 li and advance in an arc. Little Dong gave the order and moved forward with the other 5 people. In the end, the referees determined that the soldiers who lit the smoke were all dead. Little Dong was determined to be protected and saved energy for him. For example, he was carried on his back. When they were about to reach Mount Huangshan, the other 5 people were too tired to keep up. Then he threw everything away and ran, because the messenger told him that there was a familiar geometric code on the trees nearby. It was not only one, but it kept appearing. This code was not something the students of the 5th period could learn. They were stuck in the 4th period. For the first time, Little Dong felt that knowledge was so important. The main force was right in front of him. The geometric code was definitely drawn by the scouts. It was the family's geometric code. Hence, Lil Dong ran with all his might until someone stopped him. Lil Dong, who was in the room, was already covered in mud. He was so engrossed in hiding that he would flip over and rub his face in the mud. Captain Zhang, you've been received by our army. Please enter the main tent, the messenger said as he patted the mud off Little Dong. Where are they? Little Dong was still thinking about his sacrificed brother. They're in another room. Little young lady, come here. Do you think it's appropriate? The messenger said. Right, I should change rooms. Sorry, I forgot. According to the rules, this is how it should be. So, the main force of our army is really here? Haha, Zhang Shogui, you're dead. Little Dong laughed heartily. The main force and Zhang Shogui's vanguard were about to meet. Little Dong had not slept for the past 2 days. He was constantly giving orders. After washing his face with cold water, he entered Wang Wan's room with a big meat bun in his mouth. Comprehend the Tao. Little Dong wanted to say, I'm here to report. Okay, you eat first. Don't choke. It won't take long. Someone, bring me a bowl of soup. There's still some marinated beef, right? Give it to little Dong. When Zhang Xiaobao saw little Dong, he was very happy. He was too far away to see the smoke, but when he saw little Dong, he knew that there were still people alive in the sniper camp. Little Dong could not wait. He picked up the teacup in front of Wang Wan and gulped down the tea. He wiped his mouth and said, "Little young master, little young lady, I finally see you." When I came out, the 14 commanders of the sniper camp were all there. There were still more than 500 people. We haven't given up. There's still so many people? When Wang Wan heard this, her eyes lit up. She asked, "Did they all come with you? Did they all die?" "No, they didn't die. It's just that some of my team members died. There's still 5 people left. We're walking slowly behind. We're divided into 14 teams. Wang led the team to Hangzhou Harbor. The others scattered and moved freely. I chose the north side of the forest fire district. We killed a lot of small groups of the enemy, about 5 to 10 people. We picked up a lot of things that they used to see very far. I found that the main force of the enemy's vanguard was approaching Mount Huangshan. They were not moving fast. I guess they were waiting for me to fall into the trap. I took a big detour and ran over here. Little Dong blinked and said that he had killed a small group of the enemy's vanguard. He also gave more than a dozen telescope models to Wang Wan. Wang Wan took the telescope solemnly and said, "Send someone to pick up the 5 brothers immediately." I asked the referees to decide that the reconnaissance field of our key points has increased. The referees decide that there are 15 locations to use telescopes. You can assign and transfer them at any time. Inform us in advance. The messenger ran out and ran back, pointing to the 15 telescope models. Wang Wan said to little Dong, "You go to wash up first, and then have a rest. You don't need to worry about this place for now. After you've had a good rest, wait for my next order." "Yes, I'll eat as I wash up. They'll probably arrive in another 2 days." Little Dong gave a military salute, left behind these words, and ran out to rest. Wang Wan played with the telescope model as she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I'm thinking that the first to arrive is the vanguard of the enemy's vanguard. According to the news from the Fuyang Beacon Post, the enemy should be surrounded by at least a brigade. My great Tang's vanguard is normally equipped with 20,000 people. The ones coming from the north should be 15,000 at most. Eat them up. Your logistical forces will be sacrificed and engaged in a stalemate with the vanguard of the enemy's vanguard. Do your best to kill as many of the enemy's forces as possible." "Yes, my logistical forces are prepared to be sacrificed to draw away the enemy's main artillery, so that you can determine Zhang Shogui's disposition of firepower. For the sake of the entire people, someone has to die first." Zhang Xiaobao understood what Wang Wan meant. Throwing out a group of people for Zhang Shogui to fight would also allow Zhang Shogui to make a mistake in his judgment of the soldier's strength. "Okay, go to your command center and keep in touch. I'll give you the telescope and 3 of them. Remember, you have to stay alive. You'll be more useful alive than dead." Wang Wan took out 3 models and handed them to Zhang Xiaobao. "Yes, I promised I'll stay alive and chat with you. I won't accompany anyone else to the central sandbox to play," Zhang Xiaobao said casually. "Who else can you play with? We came to see Lil Dong. You fought well, but we also have to tell you something else. We already know why Xiao Bei and the others felt that it was a good deal to spend half of their profits on their children, even after they were exempted from taxes." Just as Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, Li Longji's voice rang out, and his figure appeared at the door. "Your Majesty, the battle is about to start, yet you're still in the mood to wander around? Little Dong has gone to rest. Once he's rested, I'll have him come to see you. Did Xiao Bei send you a message?" Zhang Xiaobao was waiting at the door. He had to return to the logistical headquarters to give orders, so he waited for Li Longji to move aside. Li Longji was taken aback. "How did you know that Xiao Bei sent us a message?" "Oh, did you think that I wouldn't be able to think of a solution if they didn't send me a message? Don't push me. It's not a big deal. Let me tell you, the idea that Xiao Bei and the others came up with is very good. I'll study it with you. I have an idea, do you understand? I estimate that it will take another 2 days, and we have 12 hours here. How can I not be anxious?" Good, everything is good. Of course it's good. Your idea is to implement it in all parts of Great Tang. One of the benefits is to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. Another benefit is to increase the demand for goods to be produced and sold, thus increasing the labor force. Another benefit is that the poor will increase their consumption or deposit their money in the banks. Increasing consumption will increase the local revenue, and I will have more money to operate the banks. At the same time, it will increase consumption. Will it be better if I lower the interest rate? There was no need for Zhang Xiaobao to think too much about it. He began to list out a bunch of ideas. Furthermore, he hadn't perfected them yet. Otherwise, there would be more benefits, and there would be more areas where he could guide the implementation process. Li Longji widened his eyes and listened to Zhang Xiaobao with his mouth slightly agape. When Zhang Xiaobao was done, he nodded repeatedly. Xiaobao, you mean Xiaobao? Did you tell Xiaobei and the others to do this? Otherwise, why are you so clear about it? There are still many things that I haven't thought of. It's a small matter. Xiaobei and the others don't need me to personally plan for them. Isn't it normal for me to know about it? Isn't this what you want me to do? If I don't know about it, I'll be derelict in my duties. I'm about to fail in my duties, so I have to go and command the logistics. Your Majesty, you should think about it first. We can discuss it later. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he tried to squeeze his way out. Li Longji wasn't able to block him, and he was squeezed out. Li Longji immediately chased after Zhang Xiaobao. It's not too late. Xiaobao, do you think it's time to promote this to Great Tang? What you should do the most is to grasp the discipline of the officials. Only when you grasp it well can you promote it. Otherwise, if the local officials decide that the rich people are poor and in the process of tax exemption, how much can the rich merchants sell? Zhang Xiaobao's footsteps were quick. By the time he finished speaking, he had already entered his command center. Rearrange the sand table and map. Organize the data of my logistics team. Report to the Central Army that my logistics commander is in position. Gather the commanders of the barracks and above for a meeting. Zhang Xiaobao picked up his baton and gave the order to the orderly. Li Longji also entered and discussed. Xiaobao, let's talk about the economy. Why don't we reveal some information about the central sand table to you, so that you can relax and make up for the time you wasted? My dear Your Majesty, please don't harm me. All right, I'll answer you first. When the time comes, you can return to the central sand table. Zhang Xiaobao really wanted to push Li Longji into Zhang Shogui's room and have him torture him. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao had agreed, Li Longji found a chair and sat down. All right, you can speak. I'll immediately return to the central sand table to cheer you on. Tax exemption and management fee exemption naturally have to be based on the county as the smallest unit. Have the county magistrates of each county report the data. Those whose income is lower than a certain amount, tell them to give them subsidies. Those whose income is higher than a certain amount, give them rewards. If they report to the capital, there will be a problem of falsification. They can push the middle-income people as high and low as possible so that they can obtain more subsidies and rewards. But our goal is to find people with low incomes. No matter how they falsify the data, the county magistrates will definitely classify those with low incomes as poor. Then send people to investigate, especially those with low incomes. This way, we can avoid situations where those with low incomes are not reported and those with high incomes are reported as having low incomes. Under those circumstances, it will be much more difficult to investigate than if we use this method. The people investigating won't be familiar with the area, so their workload will be much greater. Zhang Xiaobao was quite skilled at scheming. Li Longji nodded. I understand. You're just tricking the local officials, right? When the time comes, we'll give them a piece of paper with the word fortune printed on it. Who dares to say that our rewards aren't good? Yes or no? Yes. Then Your Majesty, you should go and cheer me on. Zhang Xiaobao drove him out. Chapter 1017. Good, I'll cheer for you. Slow down a bit. Wait for Xiaobei and the others to come back. I still have something I need their help with, so it might take a few more days. Li Longji was very satisfied with the things he wanted to know. As he walked out, he suddenly stopped at the door and said to Zhang Xiaobao, Mount Huangshan is a large area. There are low and high, big and small. There are many mountains. It must feel good to jump down from them. Thank you, Your Majesty. Please leave quickly and don't reveal the secret. I understand. They don't have hot air balloons, but they still have hang gliders. I have a way to deal with them. Zhang Xiaobao personally pushed Li Longji out. As Li Longji walked, he turned his head and said, There are still parachutes. Even if I tire them to death, they won't be able to use parachutes as hang gliders. Oh, I forgot. I should have found Cuckoo and told her that parachutes can also be powered. They just need to bring a box of batteries. Zhang Xiaobao pushed Li Longji far away. When he returned to the room, he suddenly thought of this problem. Powered parachutes were very useful in light winds. They didn't need to fly for a few hours. After flying for 10 minutes, they would be able to drop a group of combat personnel behind the enemy. With the combination of the wind direction and terrain, they would be able to execute an unimaginable tactic. Not to mention the enemy who had never seen a paraglider before. Even if he and Cuckoo were to suddenly see a group of paragliders flying in the sky, they would still tremble. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaobao said to the group of battalion-level commanders and above, You guys discuss first. I'll go to Cuckoo's room. Leaving the group of people behind, Zhang Xiaobao ran to Wang Wan's room. He waited at the door for 10 minutes before he was allowed to enter. When Zhang Xiaobao came back just now, because the emperor was there and they were discussing the political and economic affairs of the country, the referees didn't judge the ratio between the sand table time and the actual time. Therefore, no one stopped Zhang Xiaobao from waiting outside the door, which was a small advantage for Zhang Xiaobao. The real situation was that Zhang Xiaobao used his time to give Li Longji advice. The two sides were even. Even if other generals saw it, they wouldn't be dissatisfied. Zhang Shogui had seen it. Seeing the emperor chase after Zhang Xiaobao and force him to answer his questions, not only was Zhang Shogui not angry, he even chuckled and said to the generals in the room, Actually, we've always had the advantage. We're generals, so we're only in charge of fighting wars. Xiaobao and Cuckoo have to take care of their own businesses, as well as answer His Majesty's questions at any time. Do you see that? Don't know too much. The more complicated things you know, the more tired you will be. You have to take care of your family, your younger siblings, and the country's affairs. Why bother? The other generals said nothing. They could tell that Zhang Shogui was clearly jealous. His Majesty can ask you for advice because you are capable. The more you meddle, the more capable you are. They want His Majesty to ask about economic matters. However, if His Majesty really asks, how should they answer? Seeing that no one agreed with him, Zhang Shogui's face darkened as he ordered, Don't look at each other. When fighting, my vanguard has to fight for a stable territory for the Central Army. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know what the others were thinking. As soon as he entered Wang Wan's room, he said, Cuckoo, I suddenly thought of something. Shouldn't we have the Ministry of Works immediately research the automatic paraglider so that we can experiment with it and use it when we go to fight duos, sure? Wang Wan had just finished setting up a hidden force. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she paused for a moment before asking, Xiaobao, can't we make a simple airplane in a year? We already have diesel engines, and the place we're going to fight is already cold. Can the soldiers withstand the cold if they fly there? Paragliders can't carry heavy objects, so they're inferior to airplanes. I'm not asking for airplanes to exceed the speed of sound. As long as it can fly faster than hot air balloons, it's fine. The earliest airplanes have 2 layers of 4 wings. In theory, it's fine as long as it has 2 engines. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. I don't understand. I've never collected such things before. I only like to buy yachts, and I don't like to buy second-hand goods. If we can't research it, we have to achieve our strategic goals at the crucial moment. Let the Ministry of Works make a paraglider first. This can increase the data collection and organization of the technology. In the future, we might be able to use it for other purposes. Once we understand the propulsion system, we can put on a large hot air balloon. It can be used for rescue missions or sightseeing. Then let's do it. Wang Wan pulled a piece of paper over and started to design the paraglider with Zhang Xiaobao. Although it looked simple, it wasn't easy at all when it came to designing it. Wang Wan always regretted that she didn't learn more about the subject back then. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, was recalling how he learned when he was playing. After he became rich, he learned how to parachute, fly an airplane, drive a yacht, dive, and so on. He was also good at golf and surfing. Anyway, he had to master all the recreational things. He was good at deceiving people. In Wang Wan's house, in addition to Princess Jincheng, there was also Li Longji, who came to talk to Empress Wang about how to reduce the tax and management fees. Li Longji knew that the fight would definitely not start within 3 hours, so he didn't go to the central sand table. Instead, he returned to Wang Wan's house. It was mainly because of Empress Wang. She liked her goddaughter very much. Princess Jincheng was also very grateful to Wang Wan, so she always liked to stay in Wang Wan's house. Even if she didn't talk or disturb Wang Wan, she was happy to see Wang Wan. At this moment, they once again understood the difficulties of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They had to consider everything. Although they solved the problems very quickly, there were always problems that kept appearing. Wait a minute. I'll find something and come back to draw. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan discussed the problem of the materials, they threw down the pen and hurried out. After a while, they ran back. When they were about to enter the door, they were stopped by the messenger. Young master, according to the rules, you have to wait for a moment. The messenger was from the Zhang family and the Wang family. He blocked the door and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao's face showed a very helpless expression. He patted his head and stood at the door. Wang Wan also sat there helplessly. Wu Huifei was unhappy. She didn't have the slightest dislike for Xiaobao and Cuckoo now. She had long stopped thinking about the past. When she saw that Zhang Xiaobao was stopped and they were not allowed to communicate, she stared at the messenger and said, "You met masters like Xiaobao and Cuckoo. If it were me, I would skin you alive." The messenger felt wronged. He had to act according to the orders of the referee group. That was the master's request. Otherwise, it would be disobeying orders. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Your Highness, it has nothing to do with him. If it were other messengers, they would do the same. It won't delay anything. Cuckoo, and I can think more. Zhang Xiaobao spoke for his people and said to the messenger, "You look familiar. I remember. You are the grandson of Cripple Zhang, right? The old man used to make a birdcage for me. I like the cage he made. It can be flipped back and forth. It's a pity that I haven't been back for a long time. I thought it would be simple during the new year, but they said that I'm old and it's not good to mess around. So I stayed in Zhuangzi. When you contact your family, send a message to Cuckoo and me." The messenger immediately burst into tears. "Yes, young master. They said that my grandfather was lame and that his journey was slow. I even quarreled with them. It's not like we're walking to the capital city. We're in a wheelchair. Young master, if you have anything to say, you can tell me. I'll go in and report it to my wife." "All right, why are you crying? It's not a big deal. Just wait," Zhang Xiaobao said to the messenger. He didn't want to see his family members cry. At this time, Li Longji said, "Tell the referee group that Xiaobao and Cuckoo can go anywhere they want without restrictions. The time they save is not enough for other things. If any of the generals have different opinions, tell me." The messenger wiped his tears and ran to the center of the sand table to inform the referee group. The referee group gathered together and discussed for a while before coming to a conclusion. Indeed, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to be busy with other things while participating in the military selections. The time spent would be much longer than the time spent on judging the distance. It wasn't that the Tang Empire couldn't do without the military selections, but couldn't do without the two of them to command other things. Compared to the people's livelihood, the military selections weren't worth mentioning. Thus, they agreed to this preferential treatment and sent people to each room to inform the generals. None of the generals objected. It had nothing to do with who had given the order. They were well aware that the two of them couldn't stay idle and spent less time on the battlefield than the rest of them. If they objected and something urgent happened in the Great Tang and they were too slow to deal with it, who could bear the responsibility? After receiving the feedback, Li Longji said happily, "The generals of the Tang Empire are still reasonable. If something happens and they need to use my money and Zhang Xiaobao's logistics system, Xiaobao will have to deal with it. We can't just ignore it because the military selections are ongoing. Coincidentally, just as Li Longji finished speaking, someone who had nothing to do with the military selections rushed in. He was a member of the intelligence network of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang clan. When he saw him, he glanced around and whispered a few words in his Zhang Xiaobao's ear. His expression was very grave. Zhang Xiaobao had already entered the room and was discussing the materials for the umbrella with Wang Wan. When he heard what the person said, he frowned. Wang Wan also heard it, and her expression turned grave. "Are you sure?" Zhang Xiaobao's voice wasn't soft as he asked. "Yes. The snow is heavy, and all the roads leading to Tubo are blocked. All the supplies are blocked. Our special team in Fengzhou is still in the spiritual state, which is closer to Tubo. I've sent an order for deer and dogs troops to reinforce them. However, although the distance is relatively short, it is actually very far. It will take at least 20 days to reach the destination. I'm not sure if the animals can withstand the forceful march. The eagle is very fast and will reach the destination in 2 days. After resting for half a day, it will be responsible for transporting the supplies. However, the weight it can carry is limited. Little young master, what do you think?" The person explained the situation in a loud voice. He understood what the little young master meant. He wasn't afraid of being heard and wasn't guarded against others. Ancestor Qi couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and asked, "You said that it's snowing over there?" "Very heavy. Even the roads are blocked?" Princess Jinsheng also stood up and looked at the person. "Yes, it's snowing. We just received news that our people are trying to open up the roads and transport the supplies to Lesa City. The breeding industry in Lesa City has suffered heavy losses." The person answered honestly, "Xiaobao, I just had a good year this year. I can't bear such a big loss again. You have to think of a way." Princess Jinsheng was anxious. She ran over and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao didn't directly reply to Princess Jinsheng. Instead, he looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan sighed and said, "I agree. If there are any changes in Tufan, I will make sure that they don't leave anything behind." When everyone was puzzled, Zhang Xiaobao ordered the person who came to pass the news, send a report. "Order my family's forces in Tufan to take out all the military reserves and provide emergency support to Lesa City. My family's ski business in Idyll, mobilize all the forces. Don't let out the sled dogs that are usually used for rescue. Order all the merchants in Pengzhou who have business cooperation with my family. Tell them to bring out the emergency military supplies that we have prepared for Tufan when we sign the contract. Send them to the border and wait for them to receive it." "Done." "Understood." The person who came hurriedly ran out. Zuzan Chai's eyes widened, and he took a deep breath. At this moment, he realized that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had been keeping a backup plan. This wasn't for disaster relief, but to attack him at any time. No wonder they didn't care about his attitude. It turned out that everything was because of this. He didn't even know how many people they had arranged for Tufan. Princess Jinsheng didn't think too much about it. When she heard that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were willing to take out things to help, her eyes turned red. She pulled Wang Wan's hand and said, "Cuckoo, big sister thanks you. Our people will also know the benefits of Tang Empire. When we go back, we will tell them how much Tang Empire has sacrificed for them. In the future, if you want to obtain anything from us, just let us know first. Even if we don't use it ourselves, we will send it to you first. We will raise more cows and sheep, dry the milk, and send it to the children of Tang Empire." Wang Wan forced out a polite smile. She was unable to smile sincerely. Although Tufan was on their guard, she and Xiao Bao had already treated them as Tang Empire's people. Who would be willing to see people from their own country die? Nodding her head, Wang Wan looked at Li Longji. "Your Majesty, where is your team?" Li Longji didn't hesitate. "Pass down my orders. Guangzhou and Guangping, send the 2,000 hot air balloons that were sent there after the New Year. Unload the war weapons and bring along the logistical supplies. Determine the direction of the wind and think of a way to fly there as fast as possible. Treat it as a real war. Do your best and minimize the losses of the Tufan people to the minimum. Remember to bring along frostbite medicine and salt. After giving out his orders, Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. I can't keep any secrets. How did you guys find out about it? Same here. Your Majesty, you should be clearer about the influence my family has over there. Zhang Xiaobao didn't stand on ceremony. Everyone was thinking of ways to hide things from each other. He wasn't angry because it wasn't important whether they hid things from each other or not. It wasn't because he wanted to deal with the other party and hide things from them. It was a kind of competition in the dark. They wanted to see who had better arrangements and whose intelligence network was more complete. On the other hand, Zuzan was dumbfounded. So that's the case. For a moment, his emotions were complicated. Princess Jincheng saw through his thoughts and said, Husband, look, Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and my brother have even mobilized their military forces in order to save our country. Perhaps, if something were to happen in other parts of Great Tang, they might not be able to mobilize their military forces over there. The hot air balloons can't be flown casually. If they encounter a snowstorm or strong wind, they will still be in danger. My brother has asked his men to exchange lives for lives. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's family's wealth will probably be damaged as well. After hearing Princess Jincheng's words, Zuzan came to a realization. It wasn't wrong for the other party to be wary of him. Perhaps there were such hidden forces in various parts of Great Tang. It was just that it wasn't time to use them yet. After pondering over Wang Wan's words, he hurriedly assured Li Longji and Wang Wan, Tufan doesn't have an army. They only have a small group of security personnel, and their numbers don't exceed 10,000. If anyone dares to make use of this opportunity to harm Great Tang, I will kill him first. His entire family will be killed, and not even a blade of grass will be spared. I don't expect my men to be able to send the news over. Their speed is too slow. By the time they arrive, the snow would have already stopped. Xiao Bao, give me an idea. What should we do after the disaster? I won't be returning either. I will stay here to hide from the snow first. Zuzan said what he should say, especially the last sentence. The reason why he was staying here was to express that he was in Great Tang. If something were to happen to Tufan, you guys will deal with him. Zhang Xiaobao temporarily put down the matter of his logistics team and started to think about how to make arrangements for Tufan after the disaster. He knew that he didn't need to make any arrangements. The resources and personnel had already been sent over. When the time came, he just needed to spread the news, and the local people would be grateful. Then, he would casually send some things over to comfort them. The real pain and loss would be borne by the people of Tufan themselves. The tolerance of the people was still very strong. No matter if it was the loss of their wealth or the loss of their loved ones, after putting up a front in the imperial court, the people would lick their own wounds. However, this wasn't Zhang Xiaobao's style of doing things. Zhang Xiaobao, could kill people without batting an eyelid. He could bring disaster to an entire country. However, he definitely wouldn't be able to ignore it and let the people of his country suffer. Wasn't it just manpower and resources? It couldn't be more precious than the lives of the people of his country. If he didn't have the ability, he would just sigh. If he had the ability to help, but didn't do so because he was afraid that it would cost too much, what right did he have to sit on the throne of the country's ruling class? Wang Wan was also considering this problem. How should she make arrangements to ensure the interests of the people of Tufan as much as possible? Even the dog she raised at home knew to build a nest for her when the weather was cold, let alone humans. Wu Huifei didn't have as many thoughts as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan because there were always people dying in the past. A natural disaster wasn't something that humans could resist. The only thing they could do was to send things over and reduce the taxes. Therefore, she continued Zuzan's words and said, if someone really causes trouble, we must kill. Kill his entire family. Otherwise, it won't be enough to deter them. Don't just kill. Cuckoo will naturally be responsible for killing people. She has a lot of troops there. First, consider how to compensate for the loss of the people. Don't find excuses for yourself just because of a natural disaster. Li Longji was afraid that Zuzan would think too much, so he stopped Wu Huifei from speaking. Speaking of natural disasters, he thought of the matter between Zhang Xiaobao and Wangzon. No matter what the natural disaster is, people have to save themselves first. Try your best to spread the news to the local people. Tell them that the imperial court has already sent out rescue teams and resources. Tell them not to worry about losses and think of a way to survive. If there are any losses in wealth, I will compensate them. I have nothing, so there will be heavenly punishment. Li Longji clearly knew that the snow had nothing to do with him, but he still took responsibility for it. The people there believed in such things. Then, he said, if the news can be spread, tell the local officials. Don't find excuses for yourself. I don't believe them. I know how Zhang Zhong risked his life in Luzhou. I also know how Zhang Zhong dealt with the flood in Shu province. I want results, not explanations. Li Longji was sad. He had changed a lot because of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He was no longer the high and mighty emperor who did not know the people's lives. Now, he was an emperor who traveled or observed the situation of the construction site. He had a deep understanding of the lives of the people. His heart ached for every citizen of Tang. This was because he realized that the real people of Tang treated him well and were willing to protect him. This was especially true when they were outside. The people consciously observed the people around them, afraid that someone would do something to hurt the emperor. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao said, "It's not difficult, but it's not easy either. Disaster relief is not difficult. It's just a rescue. I believe the person in charge will know how to do it. The difficult part is the post-disaster reconstruction work. The most direct way is to give money. The amount of money that the people there have lost will be compensated. This amount of money is not much. Whether it's your Majesty's money in the bank or my family's money, it could be easily sent. When the local people receive the money, they will regain their confidence and continue to do what they originally wanted to do." "Then give the money, Xiaobao. Use my money. I can't spend it all." This time, Li Longji did not ask Zhang Xiaobao for money. It's necessary to give money, but it depends on how you give it. I'll make preparations. I'll get some seeds for the local people to plant. There's also the road construction. When the Ministry of Works was researching technology, they produced a lot of asphalt. We'll try our best to pave the road. Your Majesty, you'll pay for this. Cuckoo, and I will pay for the other part. We'll get the medical academy to provide us with the demand for medicinal herbs. Our family will build a series of medicinal herb plantation bases over there, especially the special medicinal herbs. We can't just wait for them to be produced naturally. We have to do it ourselves, Zhang Xiaobao said as he tapped his leg with his hand. When Li Longji heard this, he immediately understood what was going on. Xiaobao did not acknowledge the might of a natural disaster. He wanted to make a set of actions during a natural disaster. Not only did he have to minimize the damage caused by the natural disaster, but he also had to use the natural disaster as an opportunity to integrate the various industries in Tubo. That's right. This is the character of the Zhang family and the Wang family. They'll never bow to any difficulties. They'll become stronger when they encounter a strong opponent. Whether it's a man-made difficulty or a heaven-sent disaster, they'll go ahead with it. Take Luzhou, for example. What about the hurricane? If the hurricane didn't come, I wouldn't have developed so quickly. What can I do if I'm comfortable? I'll use this opportunity to build a bridge. There's also Fengzhou. When it was snowing, the transportation ability wasn't that strong. But when it was snowing, the transportation ability on the snowy ground had to be higher than when it was not snowing. Strong. This is true strength. They're so strong that they're arrogant. It's no wonder that the people of Great Tang encounter trouble. When they heard that the people from the Zhang family and the Wang family had come, they immediately became confident and quickly organized themselves to face them bravely. Wu Huifei thought so and couldn't help but say it softly so that Princess Jinsheng could hear it. Sister Wu is right. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo represent invincibility, strength, courage, loyalty, and justice. I just don't know what Xiao Bao will do this time. In the past, Tibet suffered from disasters, but I'm used to it. Who lives and who dies is up to fate. At that time, I didn't think about anything else. But after knowing about Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's abilities, I started to think, why didn't I know how to fight back in the past? So what if it's a natural disaster? Princess Jinsheng said, after thinking. She finally realized something. Her great Tang was strong. Cannons rumbled, seeds were produced, Xiao Bao could control the economy, and Cuckoo could teach military affairs. If it was any other country, this might be the main reason why that country was strong. But in Great Tang, this was definitely not the case. Great Tang was strong because of the spirit and backbone that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had brought up. It was just like the good horses of Tubo. Horses were horses, but some horses and wolves would be afraid. When 5 or 6 wolves met a horse that dared to resist, they would usually want to eat the horse, and they would have to pay the price with their lives. At most, a horse could kill more than 3 wolves. When the horse fell, the wolf couldn't be happy. Therefore, strength and weakness weren't so obvious. What was obvious was the will of the ruler and whether the group below supported him or not. The current Xinhua in Japan were very sad. The people of these 2 places were very supportive of the ruler, but the ruler was weak. He thought about this and that. In the end, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo only used a little force to deter them, and they became like this. It was just because of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's will. If you dare to refuse, I will teach you a lesson. Even if I have to pay a greater price when I teach you a lesson, I still want to tell you this. This was like 2 children fighting. One child was always afraid that his family wouldn't have a good time after he hit the other child, so he would always tolerate it. The other child didn't think about it. After all, if he hit you, you would soften. Then, the child who was always bullied would always be bullied. He had too many worries. He didn't even know that his family didn't want him to be bullied. But some children would go all out. In the end, the other party was afraid and didn't dare to bully them anymore. This was what Xiao Bao had told her the last time she returned to Great Tang. Peace had always been supported by the will to fight to the death. If you didn't have this thought, you could only be bullied. If a child was bullied, it could be said that it didn't matter. But if a country was bullied like this, it was too sad. Could it be that the ruler would only be satisfied when the people became as weak as the ruler? Thinking of this, Princess Jinsheng said loudly, "The power of Great Tang lies in the ruler's love for the people, and also in the ruler's never yielding." Her voice was very loud, giving Li Longji a fright. But after hearing Princess Jinsheng's words, he understood why the current Great Tang was different from before. It was because Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't allow Great Tang to cower in the face of external matters. It was also because the people of Great Tang felt that they were living a good life and were willing to work for Great Tang. Or it could be said that for their own glory and their current lives, they were willing to pay the price with their lives. Just like the 100 people outside, every single one of them was willing to give their all for Great Tang. All of this came from the will of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. It was no wonder she couldn't treat them like how she treated others. Even if they didn't kneel or kowtow to her, she wouldn't do anything to them. Other than their abilities, there were also other aspects of them. A person couldn't be without spirit or strength, and this was even more so for a country. We have decided. We will pause the military examination and leave 1 or 2 days for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to think about things. Don't disturb them. Tufan is suffering from a disaster. The various generals can gather together to eat and drink, but they are not allowed to discuss or hint at anything related to the military examination. Otherwise, we will not let them off easily. Tell them that if anyone feels that they can't continue without leaking information to each other, they can withdraw themselves. Don't wait for we to personally make trouble for them. Li Longji watched as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gathered together once more, muttering to each other. From time to time, they would shake their heads and come up with new ideas. Suddenly, he felt his heart ache. Thus, he gave the order to pause the military examination, afraid that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would collapse from exhaustion. What was the military examination? Just based on the current situation, which of the other generals of Great Tang wouldn't be convinced? The death toll was almost 1-to-1, and they were using the support of others. If they immediately judged Wang Wan as the Zhuang Yuan, who would object? Furthermore, pausing the military examination wasn't the end. Everyone should take a break. They had been standing in front of the sand table for days and were tired. Once Li Longji gave the order, Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo heaved a sigh of relief. They didn't want to give up on the military examination, but they couldn't leave Tufan in the lurch. 2 days was enough. Xiao Bao, let's put the matter of the kinetic umbrella aside first. Let's see how Tufan will decide. I know that you don't want to give money directly to the people. Instead, you want to invest in support and let the people of Tufan earn back the money they lost through other methods. At the same time, you have to promote the development of the region. Wang Wan understood what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about. It was easy to give money, and it wouldn't cost much. However, Tufan wasn't like Hongnou. They were two different things. I'm thinking about the climate there. I still have to communicate with the medical college, the Ministry of Works, and the Western Agriculture Temple. If we have to do it, we have to do it well. The crisis is also a turning point. Let's send the survival resources over as soon as possible. After that, we can consider other things. You are right. We should make the airplanes, even if they aren't very useful. If we have large transport airplanes now, we won't have to worry. We can send out 1,000 airplanes, and it will be enough for the local people. Zhang Xiaobao also felt pained about the logistics. The roads had been blocked by heavy snow, and it wasn't something that could be solved with simple transportation. This incident happened too suddenly. Who would have thought that it would suddenly snow in Tufan during spring? It would be good if there were satellites. He believed that with the power of his family, they would be able to react quickly when they discovered that there might be a problem in Tufan. Even if it was just 3 days, they would be able to send the resources over in advance. Wife, there aren't any decent roads in Tufan. I intend to make an asphalt road, which is better than a cement road. It might be able to withstand the changes in temperature to a greater extent. First, let the people in Tufan survive. After that, let them help to build the roads and give them wages. Don't worry if the ground freezes. We can continue to invest money and sprinkle salt. I don't care about the environmental pollution. Let's melt the snow first. Even if we have to invest tens of millions of strings of cash, we still have to carry it out. Send a message to the merchants who have businesses in Tufan or those who intend to do business there in the future. Ask them if they are willing to invest in the infrastructure. When Zhang Xiaobao thought about Tufan, his head started to hurt. It was easy to cause trouble, but difficult to build. Wang Wan also didn't care about how much money she had to spend. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, she pondered for a moment and walked over to Li Longji. Li Longji also discussed with Gao Lishur and the rest about how the imperial court should act to help Tufan. The ones who were most worried were Chai Zuzan and Princess Jincheng. After all, Tufan was their territory. Chai Zuzan scratched his head with all his might. He accidentally scratched his head, but he didn't feel any pain. Your Majesty, I have discussed with Xiaobao. We request for a certain amount of tax compensation. Wang Wan said to Li Longji. Compensation? Tell me what you want. My Tang dynasty doesn't lack any tax. Tufan can be exempted for 5 years. If your family is willing to fork out a lot of money, you can also be exempted. Li Longji discussed with the others to mobilize the army. The army at the border would be sent out, and the army at the back would move to the border to fill in the gaps. When he heard Wang Wan's words, he thought that they were going to reduce the taxes for Tufan. Furthermore, Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family were willing to fork out money to give benefits to Tufan. Wang Wan knew that Li Longji had misunderstood and explained, Your Majesty, we are not going to reduce the taxes for Tufan. My family should be able to get a tax reduction. Otherwise, other merchants wouldn't be able to get a tax reduction. Xiaobao, and I don't care about money. I request that the merchants be given a tax reduction based on the amount of money invested. Li Longji was stunned for a moment. He looked at Wang Wan and Chai Zuzan before asking Wang Wan. Tufan is unavoidable? Chai Zuzan was also confused. Tufan was suffering from a disaster. Why shouldn't they be exempted from taxes? The citizens couldn't pay and were forced to rebel? Wang Wan didn't need Xiao Bao to remind her. She knew what Xiao Bao was planning. She said, Tufan's taxes are unavoidable because after the disaster, the citizens of Tufan will have more income this year. Xiao Bao has decided to invite the merchants from Tang Dynasty who are willing to help to build the infrastructure for Tufan. First, the roads will be opened, and in the future, the logistics will be more convenient. The cost of materials and wages will require a lot of investment. In a short period of time, we won't be able to recover the cost. That's why I requested for a tax reduction based on the amount of money invested. The construction of a country is the process of integrating resources. The revenue of the country depends on the purchasing power and logistics. Of course, technology is also involved. We don't care about the latter. It won't have a direct impact on the current situation, so there's no need to consider it. Li Longji understood. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were planning to use another method to make up for the loss of the citizens of Tufan. He nodded his head. Before he could say anything, Wu Huifei, who was planning to study hard, spoke first. I know your motive. Cuckoo, you and Xiao Bao are indeed more capable than ordinary people. Thank you, but we still can't send the resources to Tufan in a few hours. We have already tried our best. This is the helplessness of technology not being able to keep up. Wang Wen wasn't happy at all because of Wu Huifei's praise. This was because if it was her in Xiao Bao's time, Xiao Bao wasn't a swindler and had so much money. Coupled with her family's power, if a disaster happened in Tufan, they could work together and send survival resources, medicine, and special rescue personnel accurately to the location within a few hours. Wu Huifei didn't know what Wang Wen was thinking. She continued, Your Majesty, you are indeed capable. Your Majesty, I thought that doing this wouldn't harm the citizens of Tufan. Although we didn't directly give them money, we gave them a chance to earn money. If there wasn't a disaster and we didn't provide the materials and money to build the infrastructure, they would still be farming or growing their own things. No matter which one it is, they would need to contribute labor. There are also some handicraftsmen who help to build things. It's similar to their original job. We just want them to temporarily change to a job that earns more money. The food and medicine sent there will be free. Then they will earn the money that they should have, and the infrastructure will be built. The merchants will pay the money and receive the compensation from taxes. It's nothing more than a loss to the imperial court. Am I right? After Wu Huifei finished speaking, she wiped her sweat. It was very tiring to analyze these things. Li Longji couldn't help but laugh, but he immediately stopped himself. The place where Chai Zhu praised was still suffering from a disaster. He couldn't show a happy expression, and he shouldn't be happy. Li Longji pulled a long face and said to Wu Huifei, You're still far from it. Do you think that you can learn it immediately? How can the imperial court suffer a loss? You've consolidated the people's hearts and obtained a smooth road. Otherwise, wouldn't the imperial court pay for the repairs? You've paid a period of tax income, and at the same time, you've also increased the amount of tax income in a short period of time. All kinds of resources need to be transported, and there needs to be a process of buying them. The imperial court will still collect the taxes in the middle. However, in my opinion, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are definitely not so short-sighted. What they want is a direct road from Pengzhou to Lesa City, right? As Li Longji spoke, he looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked. Zhang Xiaobao had also been paying attention to this side, and he nodded in agreement. Let me think about it again. How much profit can an asphalt road bring? Xiaobao, do you have any supplementary plans? For example, seeds that are suitable for the local climate, breeds for animal husbandry, and specialties for the handicraft industry, such as woolen blankets? Li Longji was much smarter than before. Although he was always in a position of failure, his spirit of learning did not decrease at all. Today, he was able to follow Zhang Xiaobao's train of thought. Zhang Xiaobao continued to nod. Yes, without a road, it will affect the shelf life of the goods, and it will also affect the return of profits. I want to let Tufan have a better road than before. It will increase the frequency of the production and sales cycle of the goods, and it will make up for the loss of the imperial court's taxes. Moreover, it will also increase the long-term financial income. See, I didn't say anything wrong this time, right? Xiao Bao, I know that the idea you came up with this time will not be so simple. Let me guess, what other plans do you have? The other plans are for Cuckoo. The two of you are going to hunt for more food. After the military selection, you have 1 year to prepare. You want to let Tufan build a road for 1 year and directly build the supply route, right? Li Longji was used to Zhang Xiaobao's way of coming up with ideas. It was definitely not as simple as it looked on the surface. If he really wanted to take action to solve the disaster, how could he be Zhang Xiaobao? Zhang Xiaobao smiled at Wei Wei and immediately became serious. He cupped his hands at Li Longji. Yes, I have this plan. Your Majesty is wise. Chapter 10:18. Zhu Jizan listened to the two of them. He was confused for a while, then he thought it through. When he heard Li Longji's words, he thought about it and felt that it was quite simple. It was true. However, as he listened, Zhu Jizan was shocked again. He finally realized that Li Longji didn't stop the military selection because he was happy. He knew about Xiao Bao's plan. He wanted to give Xiao Bao enough time to think and not let Xiao Bao worry about other things. From the looks of it, he had succeeded. His Tubo had suffered a calamity this time, and so many things were implicated. Even the future income of the imperial court, the business of the merchants, the production of goods in Tubo, the transportation of goods, and even the compensation for the loss of the people were all included. What's more, the logistic supplies for the war against Polyphaga a year later were used in the post-disaster reconstruction. Were they still human? How long did it take? If Xiao Bao could consider it, Li Longji could also analyze it. Princess Jinsheng didn't think too much. When she heard that it could bring benefits to Tubo, she was happy. With this, her position in Tubo would be more stable in the future. In the past, it was because of the military strength of the Tang Empire. After the disaster relief and reconstruction, she won more people's hearts. She thanked them. Thank you, Imperial Brother and Xiao Bao. Without your help, my husband and I wouldn't have received any news until now. Even in Lessa City, we could only be anxious. Xiao Bao, it's no wonder you have such a good wife like Huan Huan. You're really capable. Huan Huan is really blessed to be with you. Can you start the military selection again? It won't take too much time. I am the one who is happy to have Cuckoo by my side. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and said. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at him. He then said, Not yet. There are many things that have not been arranged. We have to stop the military selection. Right now, we're talking about the problem of rebuilding and compensating the Tubo people. There's one more important thing. The disaster has not passed yet, so we have to focus on this matter. Let Shuiyun lead the group of eagles in the capital. Wang Wan agreed. Yes, it can't move water clouds without a command. An eagle usually only listens to the command of the person who raised it, and it's impossible to let an eagle fly with a person. Otherwise, how are we going to transport goods if we just send people away? Shuiyun can still lead the other eagles. Get Shuiyun to help and fly a few more times. We must prepare fresh meat in Pengzhou. Don't tire the eagles to death. The others sighed one after another. Shuiyun was going to be used at a critical moment. It was really important to have a general who could fly. On the sand table, if Cuckoo didn't remove Shuiyun's ability, the battle would be much smoother than it is now. With Shuiyun leading the group of eagles, there is no space for other people in the sky. Hot air balloons and gliders, no one can get control of the air. Your Majesty, this concubine suggests that we give Shuiyun's children the titles of officials as well. If the children of other people can become officials, why can't Shuiyun's children? There's also Hong Wan. Their children should have learned to fly already. They are much later than the other eagles. Empress Wang liked Shuiyun the most. In her heart, she had always treated Shuiyun as a real general. When she heard Cuckoo mention Shuiyun, she helped to get officials. A smile appeared on Li Longji's face again. He nodded and said, That's right. Give it to the officials. Anyone who makes contributions to the Tang Empire should be praised, even if they are beasts. Shuiyun's children, I believe they can learn some skills from Shuiyun in the future. A year later, they can accompany Xiao Bao and Cuckoo on an expedition. I'm starting to worry about the people of Duo Duo. A group of eagles that look like humans in the sky, together with hot air balloons, gliders, and the umbrellas that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo mentioned just now, but the planes that haven't been made yet. On the ground, under the clouds, and in the sky, everything is occupied by the Tang Empire. Fight fiercely for me. After you fight, plunder their things, and then... Li Longji stopped here and looked at Zhang Xiaobao again. Well done, Xiao Bao. I was almost fooled by you. Have you used up all your tricks? I didn't finish. Foster father, did I mention this again? Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be confused and asked Gao Lisher. Gao Lisher shook his head. Your Majesty, Xiaobao didn't mention it. You two are family. He didn't say it directly, but this is what he meant. Do you understand what I mean? Li Longji said to Gao Lisher. I understand. Your Majesty, please continue. This subject is all ears. What else could Gao Lisher say? He could only admit it. Li Longji harumphed. Xiao Bao's idea is to send the things he plundered to Great Tang through this route, right? Seeing that Xiao Bao was being bullied, Wang Wan added, That's right. Your Majesty is truly wise. In truth, Xiao Bao, and I didn't expect your Majesty to be so formidable. Then, your Majesty, you're truly formidable. I'll go discuss other matters with Xiao Bao. Disaster relief is of the utmost importance. After saying those words, Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao out of the room. It was unknown where the two of them went to discuss the matter. Li Longji was stunned. He lowered his head and pondered. That's not right. Did you see it earlier? Xiaobao and Cuckoo discussed for almost half an hour. They must have rejected many of our plans before finally agreeing to the current one. Could it be that the two of them only thought of this much? Do you really think that they could come up with something that even I can think of? Do you believe me? I think so, Gao Lisher agreed. I think that your ability to flatter people is much worse. Think of something for me. Men call Xiaobao and Cuckoo back. Who knows what they're doing in a secluded place? Is it more important to discuss matters or their matters? Li Longji glared at Gao Lisher. His next words left everyone in the room dumbfounded. Was this something that the emperor should say? What are you looking at? What's wrong with me saying that about them? Why aren't you calling them back? I'm so close to them. If I were to say something about Xiao Bao, Cuckoo would be unwilling to come back. Call them back and tell them to rest for 2 days. What's the rush? Li Longji added. Soon, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned. Each of them was holding a fruit pancake. The deep-fried dough sticks were fried so well that crunching sounds could be heard when they bit into them. The two of them were also holding paper bags in their hands. Li Longji swallowed his saliva and said, Cuckoo didn't let me say anything about your husband. Did you drag him outside to enjoy life? Did you put hot sauce in the pancakes? Yes, I did. I wasn't unwilling. I want to make pancakes for your Majesty. One for each of us. Try it. With Xiao Bao's skills, I had someone prepare the ingredients long ago, but I didn't have time. If your Majesty hadn't stopped the military exercise, I reckon that by the time you wanted to eat it, the mixture would have been bubbling. Wang Wan handed out the bags to each of them one by one. When everyone heard that the pancakes were made by Xiao Bao, they eagerly took a bite. Before they even tasted the flavor, they praised it first. Even if the ingredients were the same as those outside, the method and the control of the fire were the same, they would still feel that it was good. It was just a psychological effect. Li Longji first said to Zhu Zan and Princess Jinsheng, Eat. The rescue didn't stop because of you eating. Since something has happened, there's no difference whether you are anxious or not. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are probably thinking of a solution when they are eating. Don't worry. If the two of them can't solve it, it's useless for you to worry. After saying that, Li Longji took a big bite and said, Okay, I haven't eaten Xiao Bao's dishes for a few days. It's not easy to eat a fruit pancake today. Why don't we stop every few days and rest for a day so that Xiao Bao can cook for us? It's a little sour. It's hot sauce, right? Okay. It's because the noodles have been cooked for too long. Zhang Xiaobao said frankly. Oh, it's delicious after cooking for a long time. It turns out that cooking for a long time can improve the taste. Xiaobao, your cooking is amazing. It's only a little sour after cooking for a long time. Li Longji didn't mind and continued to praise. The taste was indeed good. Wang Wan continued. Xiao Bao added more sweet sauce, eggs, and coriander to suppress the sour taste. Cooking is the same as national affairs. It has to be considered thoroughly. Once you give an order, you change it again and again. The people can't stand the constant changes. Hence, even though we've come up with a plan for the reconstruction today, Xiao Bao and I still have to discuss it later. Otherwise, you're being irresponsible. If you're not responsible for the people, how can they trust you? A qualified leader can't always squander trust. You can only think of ways to strengthen it. Otherwise, you will develop a habit of not caring and think that the people can accept it. You will squander your trust. When you need the people to support you, you will realize that you will only get voices of opposition. Wang Wan's words made Li Longji and the others stop eating the fruit pancakes. Li Longji put the fruit pancakes on the small table and instructed the people beside him, "Go and tell the imperial chefs that everyone is eating fruit pancakes today. Make more of them. After they are done, send them to the entrance of the hibiscus garden and give them to the passers-by. Tell them that the opening of the hibiscus garden will be delayed because of the snow disaster in Tubo. I have temporarily requisitioned Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to deal with this matter. The military election will be temporarily suspended. The time will be counted together. Let them go to the zoo. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan don't have to fork out money. There's also an ice rink. After the military election, I will build a bigger amusement park in Beijing. There will be no entrance fee, and the entertainment inside will be free for a month. There is no need to wait for it to be completed. Start building now. Gather those craftsmen who can't find work and start working. Give them a salary. You must explain clearly to the people who are waiting to come into play." Hearing Li Longji's words, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and revealed gratified smiles at the same time. They felt that if the emperor was like this in an imperial country, why would there be a need for a democratic election system? When Zuzan saw this, he whispered to Princess Jincheng, "When we go back, we will also learn from His Majesty's method." I think I understand. Sometimes when you sincerely do things for the people and make a mistake, the people don't want to beat you to death with a stick. What they want is your attitude, your sincere and undisguised explanation. You will be able to obtain the forgiveness, understanding, and support of the people. The people are very clear that if you put them in the position of an official, they will not be able to do it. They will have to learn for a long time. When you are in this position, think about the people. If you really do something wrong, you can frankly tell the people and be willing to change. The people will give you a chance. But even if you lie and deceive the people are not stupid. They are clear in their hearts. Just like what Cuckoo said, when you squander the last bit of credibility, you are finished. A rebellion will happen sooner or later. Princess Jincheng nodded. Our Tang dynasty has Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I am really relieved. Husband, eat. Don't worry about the things on our side. They have done very well. Only they have such a reaction speed. I now know why they earn so little. Compared to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they have much less ability. When they have something, they don't immediately use it to make money. They store it in various places. If they don't store it and use it directly, the Tang dynasty's financial income will be far less than their family's wealth. They are another Chong Pingsong. Oh, it should be said that their mobility is far beyond Chong Pingsong. Tang dynasty's merchants are afraid of Xiao Bao, and it is reasonable to be afraid. But Li Longji heard it. He took a bite of the crepe and slowly swallowed it. He said to the two of them, "What are you whispering about?" Tang dynasty's merchants are naturally afraid of Xiao Bao. I always use Xiao Bao's name to scare them. For example, a few days before the new year, when I showed Xiao Bao's name, the prices immediately fell. Also, this time, we need the Tang dynasty's merchants to fork out money to repair the roads. I estimate that it will cost at least 100 million strings of coins. Is it easy to repair the roads in Tubo? If it is, the railways will be built first. It was unknown whether Li Longji was proud of himself or deliberately flattering Zhang Xiaobao. In any case, when he spoke, he looked at Zhang Xiaobao, causing Zhang Xiaobao to feel uncomfortable eating. But Li Longji knew that the roads were too difficult to repair. Even if the cement was made, it still couldn't solve the problem. Most of the cement was used for construction, and it was done by Zhengzheng Construction Group. Needless to say, the quality of the cement was like steel. Xiao Bao had said before that they cannot use basic necessities to make money. Using such things to make money was the best way to make money. But it was out of the scope. Every extra coin earned would cause more harm to the people. That was why Zhengzheng Construction Group couldn't do that. The real time to make money was when the basic necessities were done. When someone wants to build a garden or a pavilion, the price would not be the same. It would only be slightly higher than the cost. Who asked you to be rich? For example, if the people look for Zhengzheng Construction Group and say that their house is broken and they want to build a new house with 3 rooms, Zhengzheng Construction Group would charge them a very low processing fee. The cost of the materials and labor required to build a house with 3 rooms would be 2 strings of coins. If you look for Zhengzheng Construction Group and say that you want to build a courtyard with 4 rooms, and you want to build a 3-story high courtyard with a pond in the middle, Zhengzheng Construction Group wouldn't charge you 3,000 strings of coins. But building a road was the real deal. No matter who paid for it, Zhengzheng Construction Group wouldn't earn much. Fortunately, they now had new material. That asphalt seemed to be a good choice for building roads. But the expenses couldn't be low. 100 million strings of coins should be enough, right? Zhang Xiaobao expressionlessly continued eating, pretending that he didn't hear anything. Li Longji spoke again. Speaking of getting the merchants to fork out the money, Xiaobao really has to do it. If we propose to the merchants of Great Tang to build roads and give them tax exemptions, there will be many merchants who deliberately come to cheat us of the tax exemption. Those who are willing to invest wholeheartedly are few and far between. We will keep a list of merchants and assign them one by one. There will definitely be merchants who will find all sorts of excuses to shirk responsibility. However, if we were to change to Xiaobao and ask for the merchants to fork out the money, there are countless merchants in Great Tang who are willing to invest without asking for direct returns. If Xiaobao were to appoint a list of merchants, none of the merchants would dare to deceive him. In Great Tang, we can't even compare to Xiaobao. Let's eat. Once we are full, we won't think about it anymore. Water, water, quickly bring water to Xiaobao. Your Majesty, can you not say such things when we are eating? Look at how Xiaobao choked. Wang Wan took the water and fed it to Zhang Xiaobao while speaking to Li Longji in dissatisfaction. Li Longji lowered his head and ate, pretending that he didn't hear anything. After 2 mouthfuls, he said, "It's just a joke." Xiaobao, tell us, what are the benefits of building a road through Tufan? There is no conflict of interest in this aspect, so you don't have to hide it. At most, we will give you a copper coin as the fee for asking. What do you think? Zhang Xiaobao swallowed the food with great difficulty. Hearing Li Longji's words, he stopped eating and sat up straight. All right, but don't spread it. If someone spreads it, the plan will be stopped. I won't waste my energy to set up another trap. Everyone was silent. No one said anything, meaning that they wouldn't spread the news. Then let me tell you, actually, the matter of building a road is bound to happen. It's just a matter of time. Tufan is suffering from a snowstorm, and transportation is inconvenient, so I brought it up. There are many benefits to building a road. Your Majesty has mentioned them before, and they are all correct. However, that is not my final request. Otherwise, it would be too simple. Building a road is not worth it. There is no other purpose. A road is a road. What I need is an asymmetrical income to recruit workers. Once the road is built, we will continue to build it. Then, there will be a problem. There won't be enough workers in charge of transporting goods, especially when we are plundering. Then what should we do? Our Great Tang has citizens who can go to Tufan and occupy Qinghai Lake. However, our Great Tang has the ability to digest our own labor force. What I want to do is, at this point, Zhang Xiaobao stopped and didn't continue speaking. He wanted to give everyone time to consider. Everyone slowly ate the fruit pancakes while thinking about Zhang Xiaobao's words. It wasn't until they finished eating the fruit pancakes and drank some tea that Gao Lisher thought of it first. Xiaobao, you want to build a road between Tufan and Qinghai Lake. In the process of transporting the goods, you want to attract labor teams that aren't made up of the Great Tang citizens. As for other countries, their currency can't directly buy things from our Great Tang. When you bring the goods over, they will finish their work and earn money from our Great Tang. Thus, they will be able to buy good things. They will buy them back and use them themselves or sell them. The rarer something is, the more valuable it is. Since they can't buy things from the Great Tang with their own currency, the value of the Great Tang's goods will increase over there. When they are flocking to our great Tang's goods, you will think of a way to link their country's currency with our great Tang's currency. Thus, Xiao Bao doesn't have to endure the countless ways to earn money in his heart that can't be used on the citizens of the great Tang. He can use them to his heart's content in other countries, right? Li Longji continued Gao Lisher's words and asked. Zhang Xiaobao hadn't finished eating yet. He was taking a bite when no one was talking to him. Wang Wan said for him, "Yes, when the time comes, you will see the real Zhang Xiaobao." Xiaobao has been enduring for a long time. For an ideal, for a promise to me, he has been suppressing his abilities. Chapter 1019. I've already seen what Xiaobao did to Xinlaw. I reckon that Japan won't be able to withstand it for too long. This is the power of the economy. Wu Huifei became more and more fascinated by this. This is the strength of the entire Great Tang. Without the support of the military, if I play tricks, they'll just attack me. With the support of martial arts, I can use trade to deal with people. Not even a few smart people in the other countries can stop me. Because their rulers are afraid of losing their power and status, they can only let others cut off their flesh piece by piece, sacrificing the interests of the people to slow down their own downfall. It is like drinking poison to quench thirst. After Zhang Xiaobao said this, he pulled Wang Wan up and found a relatively quiet corner to continue discussing disaster relief. The messengers from the family came and went, passing orders to the places around Tufan, where the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had business dealings. The great Tang generals were also resting. They gathered together to chat, but no one brought up the matter of the military examination, much less hinting at it. They couldn't afford to lose face. Therefore, they talked about how many chili peppers they could plant this spring, how many new wineries they should open when there was enough food, how many shooting ranges they should build in the northern and western suburbs of the capital, how many shooting ranges they should take time to compete with, and so on. Over at Tubo, the weather is constantly changing. Who knows when it will snow heavily? Otherwise, why would they always invade the border? Pei Guangding drank 2 mouthfuls of wine and felt comfortable. He narrowed his eyes and said. Zhang Shogui raised his bowl and took a sip, then let out a long sigh. There's also the area around Feng Province. It's raining everywhere else, but there's still ice there. In a single year, there might be dozens or even hundreds of hailstorms. It's just like how, when there's too much rain in the south, it's like a flood. Why not? Look at Fengzhou. In the past 2 years, there have been reports of problems with the grass used to feed cattle, sheep, horses, and other livestock. Every year, Sanshui County sends large amounts of flowers and plants to the capital, and it's always early winter. Why aren't there flowers and plants afraid of frost? Secretary Yuan Qian Yao's voice sounded. He was in charge of the 6 ministries and was seen as a civil servant by the generals. Recently, he had been extremely busy. At the beginning of spring, the local taxes were directly returned to the capital. Soon, he had to follow the documents submitted by the local government and verify them before transferring the money to the local government. There is also the distribution of seeds from the Senangsi to local areas for trial planting, as well as the proposals submitted by local officials with ideas, changes in the local development model, and so on. As the head of the secretariat, Yuan Qianyao was too busy. He found Zhang Zhong, Wang Bei, Jiang Tsin, 1 minister of works, 1 minister of revenue, and 1 minister of agriculture. As for the Ministry of Rights, the Ministry of Personnel, the Ministry of War, the Ministry of Justice, and the Supreme Court, there was no need for them at the moment. Just as he was in the middle of the discussion with the 3 of them, the intelligence agency of the Imperial Court sent over news that the snow in Tubo had caused all the roads to be sealed. There is no need to mention how depressed Yuan Qianyao was. He had finally managed to get Wang Bei and Zhang Zhong to sit together and discuss matters. In the end, they were interrupted. If Wang Bei's temper flared up again, the meeting would not be able to continue. Therefore, Yuan Qianyao had no choice but to rush to the hibiscus garden to discuss the matter of disaster relief. Zhu Zan and Princess Jin Sheng returned to their parents' home. Something had happened in Tubo, so they had to pretend to be anxious. Wang Bei thought that he could use the Ministry of Revenue, so he also came over. Zhang Zhong missed his son and also came over. Seeing that the three of them had gone, Jiang Tsin naturally followed. The moment he walked in, he met a group of generals. Hearing Zhang Shogui's words, Yuan Qianyao, who prided himself on being a scholar, immediately refuted. Without waiting for Zhang Shogui to say anything, Wang Bei helped him and said, Sanshui County is different from other places. They have a perfect disaster prevention system. When a frost descends, they will light a fire in advance. The Yamen of Sanshui County will organize the manpower and fork out the money. The money they fork out is specially for disaster relief. The people there are very obedient. If they want to fork out the money, they will do it according to their actual situation. 1 copper coin for you, 5 copper coins for them. Some will fork out more, some will fork out less. They will only use it to prevent disasters. If it was the people of other places, if someone is willing to fork out the money, they will be worried that the Yamen will embezzle the money. Isn't that right, Lord Zhang? Who isn't afraid of your family there? This time, Zhang Zhong did not deny it. He nodded his head lightly and said, That's right. Sanshui County is my home. How can I allow problems to happen there? When the officials of Sanshui County do things, they have to think about the attitude of my family. They have to think about whether the people approve of them. They have to think about whether they are worthy of their official robes. Lord Zhang is right. For example, in my hometown, I will send seeds to them. It doesn't matter if they say that I am abusing my power for personal gain or that I don't forget my hometown. I will still do it. If the local officials don't do their jobs well, I will also take care of them. Jiang Tsin was biased towards Zhang Zhong and agreed with him. Wang Bei did not say anything. They were saying that he was not capable enough and did not take care of his family well. Zhang Shogui was unhappy with Yuan Qianyao's words just a moment ago. Now he smiled at Zhang Zhong and said, I didn't finish my words just now. A natural disaster cannot be stopped by humans. It also depends on who it is. If it was Lord Zhang, he might not be able to stop the natural disaster, but he could try his best to protect the people. Lord Zhang, has the Ministry of Works produced anything new recently? The other generals also smiled kindly at Zhang Zhong. They placed Zhang Zhong on the side of military officials and not civil officials. This was all due to the functions of the Ministry of Works and Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. The generals did not treat Zhang Xiaobao as a civil official. Although he was in charge of the economy, he was very aggressive towards external affairs. When the Ministry of Works produced something new, they would definitely consider military applications first. In addition, Wang Wan was in charge of the teaching of the military academy. Thus, they had to show the appropriate closeness. Wang Bei's face became gloomy. His kindness was not rewarded. Zhang Zhong did not care about what Wang Bei was thinking. He thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, recently, they have been researching a weapon that can be used to fight hailstorms. Hailstorms. When Zhang Zhong said this, even Wang Bei forgot to be angry. When attacking a city, cannons were used. When attacking people, guns were used. How are they going to fight hailstorms? The generals looked at each other. Yu Wenrong, who was in charge of logistics, asked uncertainly, Lord Zhang, are hailstorms ice that fall from the sky? That's right, Zhang Zhong said with certainty. Zhao Hanzhong smiled. Lord Zhang, don't joke around. If hailstorms fall from the sky, don't tell me you're going to make 10,000 machine guns and arrange them into a machine gun formation with different heights and shoot at the sky nonstop? If that's the case, it's better to let the hailstorms fall. If you give me 10,000 machine guns, I'll go to other countries and snatch back things that are worth a few hundred times more than the money lost to hailstorms. The other generals also laughed, thinking that Zhang Zhong was joking with them. Zhang Zhong wanted to explain, but he did not know where to start. He could only say, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo came up with the idea to use cannons to shoot at the clouds in the sky. The thing inside that is about to turn into ice will turn into rain in advance. Rain is better than hailstorms. Oh, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said that? More or less. There's an 80% chance that we can shoot it down. Pei Guangting immediately agreed. The other generals nodded. Haha, Zhang Zhong, you're not as good as your son and daughter-in-law. No one believes your words. You're not capable enough. Wang Bei laughed and mocked Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong curled his lips in disdain. You also know that they're my son and daughter-in-law? I really don't have any other abilities. I can give birth. My biological children are Xiao Bao, Xiao Hai, and Xiao Bei. Wang Bei's face darkened again, but no one cared about him. He could not control the generals. Jiangxin was with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Yuan Xianyao was the head of the secretariat and the prime minister. Zhang Zhong was more understanding of Wang Bei, so he gave him some face sometimes. Wang Bei was sulking, but no one cared about him. Wang Zhongxi, who was still young, went up to Zhang Zhong and asked, Lord Zhong, what did the cannon shoot out? Can it turn the clouds into rain? I'm not sure either. Xiaobao and Cuckoo know. Anyway, it's not gunpowder. The cannons are not made of iron or copper. They said that if the technology reaches a certain level, it can make the sky rain even if there are no clouds. It can make the sky clear even if there are dark clouds. The relevant people in the Ministry of Works are thinking of making it rain first to stop the hailstones. We can talk about other things later. When the technology reaches a certain level, there's nothing that can't be reversed. Zhang Zhong said it very boldly. They cannot do it now, but they had to think about it. Wang Zhongxi showed a yearning expression. He was not thinking about the good weather in Tang. That was something that Yuan Qianyao and Jiangxin should be looking forward to. Wang Zhongxi was thinking that if there was a sudden downpour on the enemy's march during a war, the enemy would be exhausted to death before they could reach their destination. Yuan Qianyao was thinking about which place was short of water. Whoosh! After a day of rain, where would there be more rain? Whoosh! The weather cleared up, and the grain production increased. If they wanted to eat rice, they could eat rice. If they wanted to eat steam buns, they could eat steam buns. They could eat the mandarin duck soup every meal. There were prawns, crabs, mutton, beef, and so on. No, I shouldn't think this way. I'm too unambitious. Let the people eat. I don't have to be so fixated on food. Zhang Zhong, Xiaobao, and Cuckoo asked the Ministry of Works to make it, right? Yuan Qianyao thought about the happy days in the future. He realized that if he wanted the people to eat like this, as the prime minister, he couldn't dream about eating. Yes, Xiaobao and Cuckoo's request must be made within half a year. Then, they will measure the propelling data of the gunpowder fired into the sky and calculate the limit of the parabola. They also made a request. The cannons can be bigger in the early stages and smaller in the later stages. The firing speed must be fast, and the gun barrel must be able to withstand the temperature and friction. No matter if it is air-cooled or water-cooled, the cannons must be able to withstand 2 minutes of continuous firing. In order to achieve the effect of a machine gun, they named it autocannon. It will be useful after more than a year. If they can't figure it out, it might cause the Tang Empire to lose many outstanding men. Zhang Zhong knew that those who could be selected for the martial arts competition were loyal. Therefore, he explained it to Yuan Xianyao in detail. As Wang Ke listened, his eyes widened. When Zhang Zhong finished, he leaned over and whispered, Zhang Zhong, do your son and daughter-in-law want to make it into anti-air weapons? I know that there are many man-eating eagles. They are worried about losing their air superiority. With the autocannon, they can cooperate with the victory of the Tang Empire and destroy all of the enemy's victory. If the hot air balloon can take off, a portion of the autocannon with relatively smaller power can even directly attack the enemy in the air. At this moment, Wang Ku, who was also a high-ranking official and knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to use military force against Doshi, temporarily put aside his feelings toward Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Ku to analyze the situation. Chapter 10:20. Maybe so. Zhang Zhong didn't know what his son and daughter-in-law were planning. He casually responded to Wang Ku and looked around for his son. It had been a long time since they last saw each other. Strangely enough, both the young and the old were not around, and the old one was always looking for a group of idle old men and old women in the capital to find a place to play chess, drink tea, or play gay ball. It was right beside the canal in the capital. There was a greenhouse in the winter and a pavilion in the summer. When it was slightly cold in the spring and autumn, they had to use a cloth curtain to cover half of the area. They didn't dare to say it and had to arrange for people to protect them. They also had to provide them with various entertainment tools and food expenses. The old men and women who came along to play were all very happy. The group grew bigger and bigger. Some of the wealthier families wanted to fork out some money, but the 4 elders in his family wouldn't let them. The things that they took out were all good things. After all, they had good grandchildren. When he returned home, other than his in-laws, he was the only one left. There were many people in the inner courtyard, but he always felt lonely. His son and daughter-in-law were nearby, and he didn't have the chance to see them. Since he was resting today, he came over to take a look. Zhang Zhong was looking for his son, and Yuan Xinyao was also looking for the emperor. Tufan was affected by the disaster. Even if he had to do something, he had to show some concern. Otherwise, Ancestor Qida and Princess Jinsheng would be very unhappy. Old Master, the young master and young lady are waiting for you inside. His Majesty is also there. Are you going over now? Or have you eaten? Before Zhang Zhong could ask, someone immediately ran over to speak. Zhang Zhong was very satisfied. This was the inner courtyard of his family. Look, he had just arrived, and they had already finished notifying him. He patted the shoulder of the person who reported. Take a look at Xiao Bao and Cuckoo first. Eat with them. Old Master, please come this way. The person in the inner courtyard led the way. Zhang Zhong greeted the military generals, and a few of them walked in. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang had just finished making arrangements for the disaster relief. Just relying on their own family's power over there was a lot of effort and not worth it. Therefore, they asked the nearby merchants to join in and give them benefits when they were done. The 2 of them turned around and designed the power parachute again. It was a little different from the usual parachutes. The structure and material of the parachute were different. It needed to be able to support itself during normal times so that it could fly easily. As soon as his father came out, Zhang Xiaobao already knew. He immediately sent someone to wait for him. By the time Zhang Zhong entered the house, Zhang Xiaobao had already spread out the pancakes on the pancake rack. 4 important officials came over and spread out the pancakes for 4 people. Wang Bei also brought a portion for himself. Political differences could not be brought to the scene, as it would appear too stingy. Wang did not believe Zhang Xiaobao's explanation at all. You're not stingy. You stopped their supply. Oh, it was your younger brother and sister who stopped it, but you still supported them. You even schemed against them. In the end, a group of people who were against the family paying for the imperial court to do things had no choice but to pay for a business under the Ministry of Works to shut their mouths. Fragrant. The things made by the young master of the Zhang family are fragrant. As soon as they entered, Jiangxin took a sniff. When she saw that it was Zhang Xiaobao who was busy, she praised. Wang quickly took a pancake and placed it in front of Jiangxin. Xiaobao only has this much ability. Official Jiang, try it. Then, she gave pancakes to Wang Bei and Yuan Xinyao. Finally, she gave pancakes to Zhang Zhong. Although he was the last to make pancakes for his father, Zhang Xiaobao was the most attentive. The pancakes were round, and the thickness was even. He beat 2 eggs and placed them symmetrically with the center of the circle as the center. There was no need for a spatula. He used a brush dipped in oil to brush the area where there were no eggs. When the pancakes were medium rare, 2 spatulas moved together. The 2 eggs seemed to be tightly glued to the pancakes. He flipped them over steadily and used his fastest speed to brush the sauce to this side. Then, he placed a youtiao. With a slight shake of his hand, chopped green onions and coriander were scattered. He rolled the pancakes left and right. Then, he placed a radish stick from Hebei into it. He wrapped it in oil paper and personally delivered it to his father. The 2 medium-rare fried eggs were exposed outside. They were trembling without breaking or spilling. Father, try it. I put more chili sauce on it. I know you like spicy food. Zhang Xiaobao said with a smile. Yuan Xinyao and the other 2 looked at the pancakes in their hands and then looked at Zhang Zhong's pancakes. They had to admit that their son was indeed their son. It could be seen from the way he ate it. Why did he spread the eggs evenly on the pancakes? Good craftsmanship. Ever since Sanshui County's pancakes were first made by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Bei, I have tried many places. However, I have never seen the way to hang the fried eggs on the pancakes. Just based on this craftsmanship, it is not expensive to buy it at 10 times the price of others. Jiangxin did not dare to eat this flavor with Zhang Zhong. He took a bite and praised before swallowing it. Zhang Zhong's eyes narrowed. He was already satisfied without eating. He took a bite of the egg. It was medium rare. His son knew that he liked to eat medium rare fried eggs. After being praised by others, Zhang Zhong was too embarrassed to continue. He had to be humble and act as if he was teaching his son. Xiao Bao, you should put more effort into the affairs of Tang dynasty in the future. You actually learned such fancy and impractical things. It is not beneficial to your work. Yes, father, you are right. I will learn more useful skills in the future. Zhang Xiaobao acted as if he had done something wrong. All right, Zhang Zhong, don't teach your son in front of me. Which of Xiaobao's dishes have you not eaten? Is the Ministry of Works not busy today? Li Longji could not stand it anymore. He felt that Zhang Zhong was a hypocrite. If Xiaobao did not do his job properly, would he be willing to do it? Zhang Zhong used his fastest speed to finish the egg. He stopped temporarily and replied, "The Ministry of Works has already formed a system of management. It is not too busy. Sir Yuan is looking for me to discuss the construction matters submitted by the local government." At this point, Zhang Zhong did not say anything. He looked at Yuan Qianyao, and his hands did not stop moving. He had to eat quickly. The taste would be bad if it turned cold. Yuan Qianyao was just about to take a bite of the pancake when he saw the emperor looking over. He stopped helplessly. That's right. A portion of the local officials have become smarter. They raised different requests according to the development of their respective areas. They also sent over plans and supplementary explanations, requesting for the local government to increase the amount of funds allocated. This involves the infrastructure that the Ministry of Works is in charge of, the seed varieties of the Agriculture Temple, and the finances of the Ministry of Revenue. I can only find 3 managers to discuss this together. While we were discussing, we suddenly received news that something big has happened in Tubo. The snow is thick and the roads are blocked. There are many houses and tents that have been crushed. There are also commoners buried in the snow, and many livestock have died. There's a problem with the food supply. I am anxious and came to find Your Majesty to ask how to deal with this. If there is no other way, we must urgently activate the Chongping warehouse in the northern area of Jianan Road. We cannot let the commoners there be alone without help. Yuan Xinyao's eyes looked back and forth between Li Longji, Zhu Zan, and Princess Jincheng to see their reactions. He also wanted to see from the emperor's face if he was sincere in saving them. Li Longji revealed a gratified expression. However, Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng did not look anxious at all. This made Yuan Qianyao very puzzled. You guys are not anxious when there is a disaster? Zhu Zan knew what Yuan Qianyao meant and was unhappy. It was all thanks to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, as well as His Majesty. Otherwise, how many people would have died if the officials came to save them? Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and said to Yuan Qianyao, "We already know about this matter. Xiao Bao has already made arrangements 2 hours ago. There is no need to activate the Chongping warehouse. I have also sent people there to help at all costs." Yuan Qianyao suddenly understood. The information was already in his hands. How could Zhang Xiaobao not know about it? It's over. I said the wrong thing. I should have been more proactive. Then, I will go back and continue working. Yuan Qianyao wanted to leave. No need. It is the same everywhere. Just do it here. I will also listen. Li Longji asked him to stay and said, "Eat first. It will not taste good when it is cold." "Yes," Yuan Qianyao replied and sat on the chair that someone brought over. He lowered his head and ate. He was really hungry. Even if he was not hungry, he still wanted to eat Zhang Xiaobao's food. It tasted good, but it was not easy to eat Zhang Xiaobao's food. His status was there. Zhang Zhong sat beside his son. Zhang Xiaobao quickly placed the jar of chili sauce over and let his father brush it with every bite. Zhang Zhong was not like other people who ate Zhang Xiaobao's food. He felt that it was right for his son to cook for his father. It was very convenient. He would let Zhang Xiaobao brush some chili sauce and let Wang Wan stuff some chopped green onions and coriander into his father's mouth. Father, were most of the plans that were sent up. Zhang Xiaobao served his father and asked about the situation of the local officials. Zhang Zhong was eating when he heard his son's question. He stopped and said, "Some say they want to build roads, some say they want to build bridges, and some even want to set up a large trade market specifically for the wholesale of handicrafts. There are also railways. Various places are busy building them. In places where the railways do not directly pass through, the officials are anxious and want the imperial court to give them money. There are also railway tracks. They are willing to provide their own labor. There are also railroad ties. Some of the plans are not bad. They are detailed and in line with the local development. Some are just joining in the fun. If you want money, why are you building roads and relay stations beside the Yangtze River? If you have the money, you can build the docks. There's also Punli Lake. I don't know what the local officials want to do. They want the imperial court to give them money to transport sand and rocks in the middle of the lake and build an island with manpower. They want to build a commodity distribution center on the island. The merchants who come and go will travel by ship. They say that it will show the noble status of the merchants. They can also earn more money during the transportation of the ships. They want the imperial court to give them 4 million strings of cash. It will be completed within 2 years. By then, they can generate 1 million strings of cash annually. At this point, Zhang Zhong gestured for his son to brush the chili sauce. He took a big bite and chewed. He continued, "If they tell others about this plan, others might agree. But if I, your father, saw it and agreed, I would be a fool. What does my son do? Someone is actually playing tricks on me. I will directly tell Yuan Qianyao that I do not agree." Yes, yes, father. Eat slowly. I will heat it up for you when it gets cold. You cannot agree. Why build an island in the lake? For million strings of cash to build an island? If you throw in 4 million strings of cash, you won't even see a reef, let alone an island. The water in the lake goes in and out continuously. If a ship of rocks falls, they will be immediately moved to another place. If they really build an island in the middle, the lake will be ruined. Punli Lake, right? That is Poyang Lake, Jiangzhou, the place where Xiao Bei and the others are going. Recently, there have been many incidents there. Is it because the Tang Empire is developing too fast that some officials who think they are capable are unwilling to be left out? Do they want to show their abilities? Wang Wan pointed to the sand table and said. Zhang Xiaobao finally reacted. Why did it sound familiar? It turned out that it was Jiangnan Circuit's Jiangzhou. It was located in the west of Jiangnan. It was the place where the military election was happening. Zhang Xiaobao frowned slightly. He took half of the pancake that his father had eaten, opened it, and put it on the griddle. He added a circle of flour, put in a few slices of ham, swirled the chili sauce, wrapped it up, and gave it to his father. Then he poured wine and said, "Are they crazy? Do they think that we can't deal with them because they are far away from the capital? For money, they will use all kinds of methods? Did we and Li, His Majesty, never emphasize economic development as the center? No, we focus on industrial science and technology research, the agriculture temple as the foundation, loyalty to the emperor, patriotism, and morality as the guiding principles. Then, we will speed up the people's living standards, unblock the logistics, promote financial income, and improve the commodity trade." Wang Wan answered. At the same time, she filled Zhang Zhong's glass with the wine that he had just drunk. "You didn't say that regardless of whether it is the black or white path, it is a good path to get money, right?" Zhang Xiaobao asked again. "Don't keep mentioning this. There is no right or wrong in doing things. There is only the strength of execution and the strictness of supervision. Are you saying that there is a big problem in the west of Jiangnan? Someone has started the Great Leap Forward, and it is a great leap forward without any scientific theory to support it?" Wang Wan looked at the sand table and began to worry. The foundation could not keep up. If they want to speed up on their own, it could easily cause a situation where they could not cope with it in all aspects. Zhang Xiaobao narrowed his eyes. He thought for a moment and said, "Don't let Xiao Bei and the others go directly. I am afraid that we don't have enough people. Let them go to Shuzhou and wait. We will mobilize the guards there. I am worried that the people there will take the risk when they know that they have committed a capital offense. Shuzhou is still the place where we call the shots. My family's forces around the area send people to gather in Shuzhou and form a defense team of at least 5,000 people for me. On the Yangtze River front, my family's shipping forces will conduct an internal investigation. After the investigation, keep a close eye on all the docks and ships on both sides of the Yangtze River in the west of Jiangnan. From Jili Prefecture, send the soldiers from Qianzhong Road there on fast boats. They are locals and are familiar with the local environment and climate. They are even more familiar with naval warfare. Protect Xiaobei and the others well. I'll let Xiaobei and the others go there to play, not to take risks. What is going on there? Investigate. Mobilize all our local intelligence systems. Okay, arrange it immediately. I hope it is not a foreign force causing trouble. We don't have to deal with them in the plan. If other countries are really involved, we can't go there. We can only let other generals go. We have to speed up the progress of the military election. It is not enough to just defend. We have to eat the enemy's vanguard. Wang Wan found the people in the family and arranged things. Zhang Zhong was no longer in the mood to eat. He drank 2 more cups in a row. He held the pancake pan with a slightly smoky face and asked worriedly, Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, are you afraid that Xiao Bei and the others are in danger? Can't you not go? Father, we cannot go. If it is really like what Cuckoo and I think, if we don't go, they will be more arrogant. They will think that both the Zhang family and the Wang family are afraid of them. They may even encourage some people to rebel. I am not afraid of a rebellion. I am afraid that they will attack the surrounding areas in the early stages of the rebellion. Many people will die, and it will have a great impact on the local production and construction. We have to go. If we go, we have to show our toughest side. This is the worst-case scenario. Perhaps what Cuckoo and I are worried about won't happen. Zhang Xiaobao comforted his father. He got up and cut a few more slices of ham. Then, he put on the pancake pan to make teppanyaki. He pressed the garlic and sprinkled the vinegar. The aroma immediately wafted up. Father, try this. It is authentic and good ham. Zhang Xiaobao diverted his father's attention so that he would not worry. Zhang Zhong drank another glass of wine and sighed. Okay, let's eat. Let Xiaobei and the others send a message back every half a day. If they think that someone will cause harm to them, arrest them first. Let the arrested person explain. If they can't explain clearly, bring them back. This ham tastes really good. It's just that it is not easy to make. It takes too long to make. Ordinary people can't eat it. Xiaobao Cuckoo, don't worry. They won't rebel. When the people's lives are better, who will rebel? Zhang Zhong, in turn, comforted his son and daughter-in-law. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan nodded at the same time. She refilled her father-in-law's glass. In order to change the topic, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, Xiaobao, do you think we should make some ham sausages? That depends on what's inside. If there's only normal seasoning and the outside of the sausage, then the inside is filled with ham and a small amount of starch. Add more salt, and it's fine to make it. If there's all kinds of glue, it's fine to not make it. I hate to eat some ham sausages the most. They don't even have the sausage skin, so they use other things to replace it. According to the amount of sausages, we have to weigh them and calculate the cost. It's not even as expensive as normal meat. Is that for people to eat? I don't even eat dogs of good breeds. It's fried or roasted. It's disgusting to smell. For people like me who don't have good appetite, I vomit every time I eat it. Zhang Xiaobao began to feel uncomfortable as he spoke. The taste in his memory was unforgettable. Wang Wan nodded. I don't eat it either. Let's make it according to the instant noodles in our inner courtyard. Use enough ingredients. Whoever dares to cheat will be dealt with first and be charged with endangering public safety. Is that okay? How can there be such a crime now? It's better to say that it's premeditated murder. Zhang Xiaobao laughed. Zhang Zhong didn't understand what the two of them were talking about. The only thing he understood was the sausage. He took a sip of wine and said, That's because the two of you didn't exist. When I was young, my family was poor. Unlike your mother, they weren't ordinary. When I was young, my family bought some meat back. If the price was cheap, they would buy pig intestines. At that time, we didn't come up with so many ways to make sausage like you. Most people didn't eat it because it was too smelly. No matter how you washed it, it would still smell. Our family had to eat it. We were poor, so we saved all our money. When I grew up, I went to Beijing and met your mother. Your mother brought things to our house. That's how we pooled our money together and made zhuangzi. Otherwise, why would I be afraid of your mother? Your mother's talent is not inferior to your father's. She comes from a good family. I'm satisfied that she can live with your father, not to mention that there's still the two of you. Zhang Zhong began to teach his son and daughter-in-law a lesson about remembering the bitterness and thinking of the sweetness. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't help but tremble. Although they had never heard their father talk about it before, the two of them had experienced many things. Wang Wan understood very well. She always listened and understood Zhang Xiaobao even more. In the past, no matter how bitter her father-in-law and her family were, could it be more bitter than Xiaobao? However, Xiaobao never changed his love for his children until the last moment of his life. Therefore, Wang Wan really wanted to tell her father-in-law about Xiaobao's past. It was a magnificent scene that couldn't be described as the ups and downs of a sea of people. However, she couldn't say it out loud. She could only patiently listen with Xiaobao. Zhang Zhong wasn't clear about his son and daughter-in-law's past. He only knew that the two children were little immortals who were bestowed by the heavens to their two families. Counting up from the family tree, there were 8 generations. They had to do countless good deeds. Therefore, he was still immersed in his memories. At that time, to be honest, Xiaobao, don't be unhappy. You're capable, and the food you make is delicious. However, the best food I've ever eaten wasn't made by you. When I was 7 years old, my mother made me a rice sausage during the new year. She washed the intestines clean and filled it with rice and rice soup. There were also pieces of oil, which was the leftovers after refining the lard. She added some salt. After it was done, it was usually steamed. However, my father said that it wasn't easy for a child to eat it once. He used wood shavings to smoke it until the intestine was cooked. Even now, I still remember the taste. It was so fragrant. I asked my mother to cut it into thin slices. One slice could be eaten for half a day. After taking a bite, I kept chewing in my mouth. Therefore, you've also realized that I made this kind of food for you every year. No matter how much seasoning Xiaobao made, I didn't use it. When I first found out that the food you made was delicious, I was worried that you wouldn't want to eat the intestines I made. Later on, when I saw that you enjoyed it so much, I was still very puzzled. When you were a year older, through my observation of the food you eat, I learned that sometimes you have high requirements for the food you eat. Sometimes you want the best. Sometimes you have very low requirements. You too can eat a complete bowl of corn and a little salted vegetables. Pour the wine. Zhang Zhong drank the wine as he spoke. He pushed the cup forward. Wang Wan immediately filled it up. She also poured a cup for Zhang Xiaobao and gave him a look. Zhang Xiaobao understood that Wang Wan wanted him to drink with his father. Even if he drank too much, he wanted his father to relax. As for his father's words, he would pick the good ones to remember and forget the bad ones. Since they were drinking wine, he didn't stop them. He raised his cup and said, "Father, Cuckoo and I have already enjoyed wealth. You see what Cuckoo and I make. No matter what ingredients we bring, we know the best way to cook them. But we also know the meaning of life. Just like the rice intestines you mentioned just now, it's delicious because it was made by my grandmother. It contains more than just taste. In this world, no matter how good the chef skills are, even I can't make the taste of breast milk. Cuckoo, and I don't care about suffering. At least it's better than starving. When you mentioned it today, I suddenly had an idea. Shouldn't we make something that makes people reminisce? It doesn't need to taste good. It just needs to be done with the heart. In some people's eyes, the most vulgar things are the real elegance. I always feel that the pronunciation of the local accent is more intimate than the pronunciation of the Chinese character in Chinese. Although Cuckoo, and I know many languages, we usually speak the dialect of Sanshui County. Good boy, good boy. Good son, do it. That's right, do it. Father supports you. Go and do it. Make the simplest things and then sell them. Sell them. Don't sell them at an expensive price. Our family doesn't lack money. Xiaobao, why are you so awesome? You know how to make money for the family since you were young. And Cuckoo, father's good daughter-in-law. She's just like your mother. She's even better than your mother. Your mother is indeed from a big family. Cuckoo, father, doesn't look so noble. And you, when you smile, you're different from other children. Other children smile foolishly, but you're that kind of... What was it again? Zhang Zhong drank a little too much, so the smile on his face was also more. Smile, Zhang Xiaobao reminded. Yes, smile. Cheers. Cuckoo, pour the wine. Zhang Zhong ordered Wang Wan without holding back. Others might be afraid of Demoness Cuckoo, but he wasn't. In his eyes, Wang Wan was still that little brat. Wang Wan liked this the most. She immediately filled the wine and glared at Jiangxin, who came over and asked, Lord Jiang, is there something you need? Jiangxin also drank a lot of wine, and it was white wine. He drank it with Ancestor Cheetah. He promised Ancestor Cheetah that the Sidong Temple would cultivate new good seeds for tubo, such as corn. Then he drank it. After drinking 2 bowls, he was confused and ran over to get some scallions to dip in sauce. After drinking white wine, there was no taste in his mouth. If he wanted something stimulating, cucumber and liampi would do. However, Wang Wan wasn't happy. Her husband and father-in-law were drinking. Why did an outsider come over? Jiangxin wasn't drunk and knew what was going on. He picked up the wine cup in front of Zhang Zhong and drank it in one gulp. I want some sauce and scallions. Do you have cucumber? Son, cucumber, sauce, and scallions are here. Zhang Zhong was drunk, but he wasn't drunk. Seeing that there were no cucumbers on the small table, he said to Zhang Xiaobao. Wang Wan ordered the people beside her. Men, go and serve them. Prepare the dishes and the hangover soup. Jiangxin went back happily. Before he left, he said to Zhang Zhong, Lord Zhang, you are blessed. Look at your daughter-in-law. She didn't take care of Xiaobao. Of course, let's drink another cup. Zhang Zhong pulled Jiangxin to drink another cup. He had been drinking wine the whole time. Jiangxin mixed it with white wine first. After drinking a cup of wine, his body swayed and he left with a smile. Son, why don't you drink with Lord Jiang? It's okay. I know he can drink more than me. You see, he is drunk now. If he drinks more, he will still be drunk. Unlike me, your father, I will be drunk in a while. When the time comes, you and Cuckoo will serve me. Zhang Zhong knew his own alcohol tolerance, so he spoke first. Zhang Xiaobao had a high alcohol tolerance. Not to mention a few cups of wine, even a few cups of white wine would be fine. After hearing his father's words, he nodded vigorously. Father, you don't have to worry about drinking too much. You drink. Mother is not here, and Grandpa and Grandma are out playing. No one will say anything about you. Let's drink. Okay, let's drink. Under normal circumstances, Zhang Zhong rarely drank outside. Even if he drank, he did not drink much. Recently, he had not been able to see his family. Now that he finally saw his son and daughter-in-law, the pressure in his heart was reduced a lot. Moreover, because he was beside his son, he did not care. If he drank too much, his son and daughter-in-law would take care of him. He picked up the wine and drank. After drinking, he asked his son, Where were we just now? We were talking about the rice sausage you ate when you were young. Zhang Xiaobao still had to remind him. Yes, rice sausages. It's good stuff. You have to sell it. As a brand, I understand now. Some rich people don't care about how good the food is, but how comfortable it is to eat. Even if you give them some cucumber strips or garlic, they will be willing to spend money if they are happy eating it. I have observed a lot of people who suddenly become rich. They are afraid that others will look down on them and say that they have no money. Therefore, when they order outside, they will order the most expensive dishes. In the end, even if they are cheated, they will not dare to say anything. They are afraid of losing face. After all, they're treating others to a meal. How can they lose face? Tell me, son. Something like this happened in Savant's restaurant. The price was clearly written on the menu, and they came to eat. You said that you should just order according to the menu. No, the full range sold on the menu is 12 abalone. It means 12 abalone. The price is not cheap. 1 abalone costs 10 strings of cash. In the end, the person who was treated by him casually asked about the price. Zhang Zhong was a little sleepy. He forced himself to stay awake and said. Zhang Xiaobao could not tell if his father could fall asleep at any time. He asked the servants to prepare first. If his father drank too much later, he would have to be carried out. He would also have to be fed soup to protect his stomach. Then he asked, "Father, what did he say? What else could it be?" That person said that he heard that there are bigger abalones. In the end, this person wants to save face and insisted on getting 6 abalone from Savant's restaurant. That is Savant's restaurant. Even if you want 1 abalone, as long as you pre-order in advance and can afford it, you will be able to find it. In the end, when the dishes were served and he paid, he was stunned. The dishes on the table cost more than 1,000 strings of cash. The things he asked for are expensive. At Savant's restaurant, you can spend 10,000 strings of cash and still get something of value. Sigh. Zhang Zhong paused when he said this. Before Zhang Xiaobao could continue, he continued, "For our family's business, it is natural for us to earn a lot of money. We use enough ingredients and have a good reputation. However, there are some places that do not use good ingredients and still cost a lot of money. Especially tourist attractions, right?" Zhang Xiaobao finally knew what his father wanted to say. "Yes, that's right. What do you think we should do?" After Zhang Zhong said this, he leaned on the table and fell asleep. He did not vomit or make a fuss. Zhang Xiaobao drank the wine in his cup and looked at Wang Wan in shock. Wang Wan was also stunned. She asked, "Something happened so soon? How long has the tourism industry started? Where is it?" "I don't know. It doesn't seem to be in Beijing. I have been watching. Xiaobei and the others are also in Beijing. Who dares to play this game in Beijing?" Zhang Xiaobao was also confused. After pondering for a while, Zhang Xiaobao filled the wine and brought it to Jiangxin. He interrupted the conversation between Jiangxin and Princess Jinsheng and asked, "Lord Jiang, I'd like to ask you something. Do you know which part of the Great Tang is the worst place to travel? Is it the place where people get cheated?" Jiangxin was still bragging about the seeds of the Sanong Sea and was very unhappy to be interrupted. He turned his head and saw that it was Zhang Xiaobao. He became sober again. He rubbed his face vigorously with his hands and said, "Yes, there really is. The people sent by the Sea Agriculture Temple to that place replied to me. They said that Jiangzhou was originally very close to Suzhou, and there was also an iron chain bridge that you guys built there. Then they collected money. There were all kinds of ways to collect money. Crossing the bridge required money. Getting off the bridge required people to pull the cart. If you did not take the cart, you were not allowed to take that road. The other roads were very difficult to travel. If you took the cart, it would be expensive. Your family also wants to open a tourism place there? No, your family has a place in Suzhou. If your family opens a business there, it will be difficult for others to do it." Johnson was confused. After talking to Zhang Xiaobao, he raised his cup to Zuzan. "Chida, just now we were talking about the planting of corn, right? Now let's talk about potatoes. Potatoes are delicious. You can fry them or stew them. Even if you roast them, there's another benefit. Listen to me." Zhang Xiaobao was no longer in the mood to see how drunk Zuzan and Jiangxin were. He glanced at Li Longji, who was sitting next to him. Li Longji didn't seem to care who drank too much. His expression was indifferent, and he occasionally added a few words. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao looking over, he asked, "Xiaobao, have you found the problem?" "Yes, I want to know who is behind Jiangzhou. It gives me the feeling that everything is for money. This won't do. The local government seems to have been kidnapped by a force. You have to send an order to Xiaobei and the others. That is to capture and kill people at will. Because there is someone there who is embezzling the revenue of Tang dynasty through various means. It is just that the means are very subtle. Even I didn't discover it directly. If we don't control it, it will cause a lot of harm. This person is definitely not ordinary. He is much stronger than the people from Tibet and Japan." Zhang Xiaobao didn't care if this fee was high or that place was expensive. What he cared about was why so many things pointed to one place in the end. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's solemn words, Li Longji also became serious. He asked, "Why, Xiaobao, are you worried that you can't deal with it? What do I have to worry about? It is easy to deal with the people behind this. I'm afraid that by the time I make a move, they will have caused too much harm to that place. Even if I catch them all, it won't be able to make up for the loss of the people. Do I have to ask the imperial court to pay for it? Zhang Xiaobao was very angry. The problem he encountered was not big nor small. If he took care of it, it would affect his energy. If he didn't, the other party would slowly form a force. From the current situation, the other party already had a certain foundation. It was just that he didn't know what level it had reached. If he didn't take action now, when the other party continued to grow, it would be painful for him to take action. Li Longji saw that Zhang Xiaobao's words were serious. He thought for a while and said, I will listen to you this time. Pass down my order. Tang Dynasty's 9-man patrol team will investigate the situation in Jiangzhou. If there is a need, they will have full authority to deal with it. Kill first and report later. Do not investigate. After the order was passed down, Zhang Xiaobao heaved a sigh of relief. He greeted the others and returned to the place just now. Looking at his father, who was sleeping, he instructed the people around him, bring a cushion over and put my father on it. Carry him to a quiet place. Don't wake him up. Xiaobao, who do you think it is? Which faction is it? The local officials give me the feeling that they are very obedient. Wang Wan waited for Zhang to be carried away and asked, I hope it is not a religious faction. That is the hardest to get rid of. Humans are always easily deceived. Zhang Xiaobao said worriedly. Chapter 10:21. At noon the next day, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had finished most of their work, had lunch. They walked along the riverside for an hour, then took a bath for another hour. They found a house with good soundproofing, performed the rites, and fell into a deep sleep. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, they woke up, washed up, and had lunch. At 9 o'clock, everyone was in position and the military exercise began again. Zhang Xiaobao returned to his command center and recalled the arrangement before resting. He passed down orders. 4th Division, 3rd Battalion, 4th Battalion, pick up the pace and head east. Start the construction work at 225 Highland. Build 2 layers of hidden fortifications. After that, 3rd Battalion will attract the enemy's firepower. 4th Battalion will rest. When the first layer of fortifications is destroyed, continue the construction work. The messenger ran out to pass down the order. Zhang Xiaobao played with the binoculars in his hands. He looked up at the ceiling and continued to give orders. 3rd Division, 1 Brigade, 1 Regiment, make a large number of scarecrows. Everyone take 1 scarecrow and cooperate with 225 Highland. Go to the left side of the Highland and set up an ambush. Every 15 minutes, a team from each battalion will spread out and arrange the situation. Move in a small area. The rest of the team will move the scarecrows around them to create the illusion that they are alive. 3rd Division, 1 Brigade, 3 regiments, go to the side of the 1st Division, 313 Highland. Start the construction work and make a layer of cover. Make scarecrows with the same number of scarecrows. Leave 1 battalion to shake the scarecrows. The other 2 battalions hide on both sides of the hill. Prepare oil and other materials to start the fire and attack according to the direction of the wind. 1st Division, 3rd Brigade, 4th Brigade, take out your multi-layered bamboo armor and stand guard at Highland 737, which is 20 li from the first peak of Mount Huangshan. If the enemy forces attack, look down from the high ground and charge with 1 battalion. 2nd Division, 2nd Brigade, and 1st Regiment cooperate with the 3rd Brigade and 4th Brigade of the 1st Division to set up fortifications on the 737 Highland. Make rolling logs and chisel boulders. 2nd Division, 2nd Brigade, and 2nd Regiment hide at the back of the hill and choose the time to attack. The 1st Brigade of the 2nd Division will be the reserve brigade. The 3rd Regiment of the 2nd Brigade will be the attacking unit. The 3rd Regiment of the 4th Division will be the attacking unit. With a distance of 300 meters, the whole unit will charge forward quickly without any regard for casualties. Lure the enemy to attack and expose the position of the troops. Give 1 to each brigade of the 2nd Division, 1 to each brigade of the 1st Division, 1 to each brigade of the 1st Division, one to each brigade of the 2nd Division, and one to each regiment of the 2nd Division. Each combat unit will act according to the situation. The objective is to kill the enemy's effective forces, deplete the enemy's firepower reserves, and make it look like the main force is here. A series of orders were passed down, and Zhang Xiaobao was left with only a single large group of soldiers, which had been reinforced to 1,000. Wang Wan, who was in the other room, had nothing else to do. She had already made the necessary arrangements. Now, she had to wait for the situation of the logistics team before she could make the next arrangements. Little girl, how much will we have to pay in order to kill 20,000 of the enemy's vanguard? The commander in Wang Wan's room looked at the sand table. He seemed a little nervous, or rather excited. He was finally going to fight for real. What's the rush? It's not 20,000, it's 15,000. The other 5,000 were taken out by the logistics team that was moving freely. With the main force and the sacrifices of so many logistics teams, how could we not take out 15,000? What I want isn't to eat up all of Zhang Shogui's soldiers, but to force him into the mountains of Huangshan. I'll leave him with around 1,800 people to defend the high ground and report to the enemy's central army that our main force is in the Huangshan region. I'll give them a grinding battle. The commanders of our army on the other side of the forest fire area will definitely understand my intentions and constantly harass the enemy's central army. When the time comes, I'll have Huzi lead 20,000 of you through the forest fire area to the port of Hangzhou. We'll constantly throw in small groups of soldiers to prevent the enemy from comfortably entering the port to resupply. Let's see how they'll defeat me. After transporting soldiers for such a long distance, the vanguard didn't first defend the shore, but instead wanted to launch a surprise attack on me. Do they really think I'm made of clay? Wang Wan coldly laughed. At this moment, Zhang Shogui was truly regretting his decision. He especially admired the general who had set up the forest fire. The setting of the forest fire had been too crucial. The setting of the forest fire had turned what should have been a tactical action into a strategic containment. My vanguard's 1st Brigade probably won't survive. Did Wang Wan really run over there? My division's arrangement in the Huangshan region should be effective. Have we still not gotten in touch with the Central Army? Zhang Shogui was still insisting on the military decision to go to the Huangshan region. The remaining 15,000 vanguard soldiers were to defend the Huangshan region, where they could attack or retreat. After muttering to himself, he asked the messenger about the radio station team he had sent. Reporting, because the distance is too far, communications have not yet been restored. We also did not discover the enemy's 1st Battalion tailing us. We only killed 22 people. The messenger reported. Order Zhao Hanzhong to pick up the pace. I don't believe that the enemy won't put up any defenses here. Have Zhao Hanzhong force his way through and quickly find out what the enemy's unit at the foot of the Huangshan region is. If the enemy is defending, let them attack the same way they did during the sword meet at Mount Hua. I don't want to have a small group of enemy troops constantly eyeing me. Zhang Shogui gave another order, and his request was very specific. Zhao Hanzhong, who was leading the 5,000 vanguard troops as the vanguard commander, looked at the sand table upon receiving the order. Our army will form 3 horizontal lines. Each line will be 1 li apart. Advance quickly. Wind direction. Wind direction, due west. Level 4 to 5. The messenger reported the wind direction. Good wind. Find a high ground suitable for taking off. My vanguard's 30 gliders will send out 15 to scout the ground. Zhao Hanzhong was just about to say send out all of them when he suddenly remembered the hot air balloon team. They had taken off together and died tragically. Before they could even see the enemy, they had been blown down. According to Zhao Hanzhong's request, the referees found a place suitable for taking off. 15 small models of gliders were set up. Half a day later, Zhao Hanzhong received news that the enemy troops had hidden themselves and occupied high ground. They had even thrown down a few grenades, killing more than 10 people. Report the enemy's depth and number of people. Zhao Hanzhong asked the messenger about the gliders controlled by 15 people. It was impossible for him to arrange for 15 people to actually take off, so he had to rely on the referees. Report, the enemy's number is unknown. Rough estimate is around 50,000. If our army takes a detour to Mount Huangshan, we can avoid the enemy's troops on high ground. If our army wants to take the shortest distance, we will face them head-on and form a siege. The messenger reported. How many? Zhao Hanzhong was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. There are 50,000 enemy troops at the foot of Mount Huangshan. Main force, send a telegram to the main camp. We've discovered the enemy's main force. 2 high ground, 1 small hill, 1 plain, and 1 depression are at the center of the 3 points. The enemy's 50,000 troops are defending. 50,000? Unless Wang Wan is an idiot, she wouldn't send 50,000 troops to 3 points. And that 1 high ground isn't a high ground. That hill is more than 100 meters high. She might have thousands or even tens of thousands of people there. Isn't she afraid that I'll flatten that hill? Even if Zhang Shogui was beaten to death, he wouldn't believe that Wang Wan would send 50,000 troops to 2 high ground and 1 depression. If Wang Wan really made such arrangements, then, with her level, she wasn't suited to teach others military lessons. Even if the commanders and her family studied for another 80 years, they still wouldn't be able to reach their current level. Report back. Ask General Zhao if he would arrange such a defense when he clearly knows that the enemy has scouting methods. From now on, General Zhao's troops will act as they see fit. My troops will slowly approach. Zhang Shogui was very dissatisfied with Zhao Hanzhong's action of sending a message without using his brain. Zhao Hanzhong received the order. After thinking about it, he felt that it made sense. The main force was there. Even if Wang Wan wasn't there, the 50,000 main force was definitely from the first batch of academy students. How could the first batch of people that Wang Wan brought out be so few? How could she expose her military strength so clearly? Fuck, it's fake. It's all fake. Let's not care about the other 2 highlands for now. Go and destroy that small hill for me. Scouts, rush up there. Use 20 gliders and fly up there for me to see. My 2nd brigade, occupy that small hill for me first. Zhao Hanzhong cursed and gave the order. 20 gliders took off. A regiment of 1,500 people, pushing a few cannons, moved towards the small hill. The scouts also followed. Not long after, the aerial scouts returned with news that they had discovered the numbers of 2 battalions. The estimated number of people was 1,000. They also determined that some of them were fake. 2 battalions, 1,000 people? That's the configuration of a regular army. It's not Zhang Xiaobao's logistics troops. He always likes to have 700 people in a battalion. Could it really be a regular army? There are even fake people? Scouts, rush up. Gliders, continue to investigate. Zhao Hanzhong judged based on the numbers and numbers. He felt that he understood Zhang Xiaobao better and was willing to create an independent battalion. For example, the 8 battalions of Fan Metro cavalry that he had given to Wang Wan actually had 1,000 people in each battalion. Report, our scouts have heard gunshots. No one has returned after half an hour. The messenger ran in and reported loudly. At the same time, he put a few models that represented smoke on the sand table. General Zhao, our 20 gliders have disappeared. Smoke billowed on both sides of the high ground. They are being carried by the wind and are floating towards our army. Oh my God, they are playing this again. Is it because if my aerial troops fly a little lower, they will use smoke? According to this, my 20 gliders are gone? Zhao Hanzhong was very depressed. He thought that the other party's method was too despicable. Of course, he didn't know that even if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's aerial troops wanted to fight, the ground troops would still use smoke. Even if the smoke couldn't make the aircraft come down, it would make the aircraft unable to aim and guide. The ground troops would use smoke and all kinds of burning debris to make the aircraft attack the personnel. They could only use their eyes to estimate the approximate position of the enemy and then manually lock on. If there was a country that didn't have such technology or even surface-to-air missiles, then they could only wait to be beaten. When a group of tanks moved, when the aircraft looked down from the sky, it was a sea of smoke. The radar's heat reaction light spots were everywhere. Since it was useful at that time, How could Wang Wan not use it now? Even if the aircraft flew high and couldn't be smoked, the aircraft wouldn't be able to see the situation below clearly. Orders: the artillery troops will cover. 2nd Regiment will charge. I'm really convinced. After fighting for so long, it has become like this again. Zhao Hanzhong felt very sullen. Before coming, he had thought of countless battle tactics and strategies. In his mind, he could simulate how the other party would suffer and how great the losses would be. In the end, when they really met, what air and ground cooperation, what special forces attack, what mobile firepower net coverage, and so on, they couldn't be used. The other party dug a trench, released smoke, guarded the small hill, and the teams on both sides of the hill cooperated with each other. The only thing he could do was to advance with artillery fire, and the attacking team followed. 1st Regiment, attack the team on the left of the hill. 3rd Regiment, attack the team on the right. Don't get close. Be careful of the smoke. Zhao Hanzhong was qualified to be able to guess the other party's shameless methods. When the glider was smoked down, he considered whether the other party would use smoke to cover and fight hand-to-hand. Your Majesty, we should strengthen security measures. On the ground, using smoke to deal with air troops is too useful. Even if Shui Yun is sent here, she won't be able to make any useful judgments when she sees the smoke below. We can't let anyone spread this. Otherwise, when Cuckoo leads the army to war in the future, how many good men will the Tang Empire lose? Which child isn't born to their parents? Empress Wang saw the situation of the battle on the sand table in the center and immediately realized the effect of smoke. Whether there was no wind or no wind, the attacking side couldn't expect the air troops to have much of an advantage unless they flew very high from the beginning. Although they could avoid the attack, they couldn't complete the reconnaissance mission. Li Longji's reaction wasn't as intense as Empress Wang's. He nodded and said, "Attack with smoke and throw spears against the wind." It's been like this since ancient times. Even if the secret isn't leaked, others can figure it out. It's Zhao Hanzhong's own stupidity. If he changed his position and Cuckoo attacked, he wouldn't be so restricted. I don't understand. Why do we have to attack? Can't we just go around it? There aren't many supplies on the hill. Can a hill of more than 100 meters be considered a high ground? What's the point of attacking it? Empress Wang thought about it and retorted, "Your Majesty, that's 3 battalions. If we don't attack, why don't we just go around it and let them attack from behind? If we attack from behind, we have to go down the hill and gather. Otherwise, if we spread out, we'll be attacked one by one. A brigade will leave a regiment in front to interrupt the attack. The other 2 regiments will turn around and attack from behind under the cover of artillery fire." Did you see how Kong Lu charged through the layers of defense? Once we reach the flat ground, cold weapons are like steam buns, meat buns that are specially used to feed dogs. With a single charge, 3 battalions will be wiped out. When fighting against Cuckoo, we can't fight according to conventional means. Look at Xiao Bao's logisticians. They're built from the ground up. If you don't attack, I'll dig down and endure cannon fire time and time again. If you charge, I'll use the trenches to engage you in close combat. Rather than saying that they're native troops, it's better to say that they're the hot-blooded heroes of Great Tang. They're guarding a place and are willing to fight to the last man. With such an army, I don't want to send them out to invade. No matter how well they fight, there will definitely be casualties. My heart aches for them. Li Longji thought back to a certain day a year later when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo gathered their troops and logisticians to go on an expedition to Duo. His mood instantly turned sour. He couldn't bear to send any Great Tang soldiers to their deaths. Zhu Zhenchide had already experienced Wang Wan's viciousness. Even now, he still had a shadow in his heart. He felt sad for his men who died in the battle for Tubo, but he also felt proud of the soldiers that Wang Wan led. The troops that were initially scattered were reorganized by Wang Wan. After that, they were promised compensation in the name of the Zhang clan and Wang clan, and their fighting strength increased exponentially. Now that he thought about it, he should have just surrendered back then. At that time, fewer Great Tang soldiers would have died. Thus, when he heard Li Longji's words, he also felt sad. He persuaded, "Your Majesty, for the happiness of more people in Great Tang, we must fight. However, logisticians must follow up. For example, artillery fire. This subject admits that it is difficult to fight a civil engineering team. However, Cuckoo said that for the safety of a single great Tang soldier, she is willing to throw down millions of artillery shells. This subject will issue a military order. If Cuckoo's team attacks, the logisticians will pass through this subject. This subject cannot allow the speed of transportation to double. This subject will carry the artillery shells myself. Otherwise, this subject will send my head to the capital. Everyone was moved by Zhu Zhenchai's words. Only Wu Huifei had a different opinion. At the side, she said, "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that Xiao Bao won't let Great Tang's soldiers risk their lives. This subject remembers that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo told Your Majesty that in the past year, they were training their soldiers and using other methods to weaken Duo. Back then, it was Your Majesty who gave the order to attack Tubo. They were developing well in Shuzhou, but you insisted that they organize the logisticians. In the end, they became the main force. Xiao Bao spent most of his energy on organizing the logisticians. When they reached Tubo, he found the time to scheme against others. However, Xiao Bao won't let you cause trouble now. He must have made preparations. Let's not talk about the past. We don't feel good about it either. Back then, we didn't do anything bad. We just wanted to give credit to Zhang family and Wang family. Who would have thought that when they reached Pingzhou, they would still advance despite knowing what was ahead? You're saying that Xiao Bao wants to make the first move and cooperate with Cuckoo's army so that Great Tang won't have to sacrifice as many soldiers? Every time Li Longji thought about what happened back then, he felt a lingering fear. However, it was also in that battle that Cuckoo showed her talent. Xiao Bao strategized, and Shui Yun roared in the sky. Otherwise, who would have known their true abilities? As they were speaking, Zhang Xiaobao came over and heard the general idea. He said, "A real man doesn't talk about the embarrassment of the past. What we're talking about now is bragging and not mentioning a single word about being beaten and bullied. That, may I ask, are we allowed to use special weapons?" Chapter 1022. What weapon? The others asked in unison. Many diseases are contagious, and people die. The process from contagion to death is relatively long. For example, it might take a few months to a year and a half. We natives have specially sampled a group of people like this. We also have some insects with diseases on them. We'll use them on the battlefield. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, Li Longji and the others shuddered from time to time. Before Zhang Xiaobao could finish, Li Longji interrupted him. "Xiaobao, it's too late for you to say this now. You didn't mention it in the beginning. I know your methods, and they're ruthless. However, the purpose of the military examination is to let the generals understand Tang's army. Your infectious diseases and poisonous insects won't be of any help to Tang. Whether our enemies use these methods or not, we need military doctors. The Medical Academy is also researching ways to cure various diseases. Didn't you say that our Medical Academy will be able to solve the diseases immediately if you bring them out? If that's the case, they won't be of much help to Tang's army. Tang can't raise a group of sick people to attack other countries." Empress Wang nodded. Wu Huifei's eyes lit up. She liked to play tricks. After listening to Zhang Xiaobao and the Emperor, she interjected. "Little treasure, are you saying that we can let the medical school's people advance with the army and capture other people for research? It's just like the medical team that Lu Zhou sent out to treat the people on the other islands. However, the medical personnel on the island didn't deliberately use poison. During the treatment process, they lacked protective measures. Even if it's a minor illness, they can still perform major surgery." Zhang Xiaobao nodded with a determined gaze. He knew how cruel it was to do it, but he still had to do it. "Is there a specific way to cure the injuries?" Cheetah asked. He wanted to say that it was against the harmony of heaven, but he changed his words in the end. Zhang Xiaobao understood what he meant. He replied, "Yes, it's against the harmony of heaven, but there's a way. There's not much difference between a doctor and an assassin. For example, Cuckoo and I, we feel that we've earned every extra day we live. We don't care about the heavenly punishment. Using others to study the laws and treatment methods of diseases can be used on the people of the Great Tang. I brought up this matter today so that your majesty and the others can be mentally prepared. Many years later, you might be cursed incessantly. How can we care about what will happen many years later? Many years later, when the common people of the Great Tang learn of what we have done for them, I believe that we will be passed down as a deity who protects their safety and health. And you and Cuckoo, don't keep looking at the sand table. If you don't like it, I'll kick you out. When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he didn't even think about it and said indifferently. Zhang Xiaobao retracted his gaze from the sand table. Actually, he couldn't see anything. The sand table was so big and the model was so small. If he didn't get close, he could only see a pile of things. I didn't. It's just a habit. In truth, it's nothing much. In the future, when the Great Tang develops well, we can just give the countries that were bullied some money, and many people will forget what happened back then. Compared to the Great Tang, they will realize that their lives are too poor. To be able to use the good products of the Great Tang, travel to the Great Tang, or even immigrate to the Great Tang, to them, this is the life of a deity. Give them some benefits and use the economy to plunder them. Let alone those people who have no direct relationship with them. Even those related to their ancestors, they will forget. Xiao Bao, don't get agitated. What's wrong with you? That time when you took the imperial examination, you vomited blood because of something. Doctor of medicine, come over here. When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he realized that Zhang Xiaobao's face was even redder than before. When he heard the content of the conversation, he felt that Xiao Bao was feeling uncomfortable. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly waved his hands. It's nothing. I can't vomit blood this time. I'll always vomit. Right now, Cuckoo and I are bullying others. Thank the heavens. This is why we have to do more things that go against the heavens. Actually, I just thought of something. Don't touch me. I already said that I'm fine. Zhang Xiaobao had many things that he couldn't tell others. The only person he could confide in was Wang Wan. After comforting himself, he recovered his emotions and shook off the doctor's hand that came over to take his pulse. The doctor was very dedicated. Even if he couldn't take Zhang Xiaobao's pulse, he didn't force him. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao, looking at his complexion and breathing rhythm. He didn't dare to be negligent. If something really happened to Zhang Xiaobao, the emperor wouldn't need to do anything. The emperor would just throw him out on the streets and say that he didn't do his best. In this short period of time, Wang Wan had already heard the news. She hurriedly ran over and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, asking, "Who provoked you again?" No one. They said that the military doctors followed the army to fight. In addition to treating their own people, they also used other people to study the virus. As they talked, I became happy and thought a new weapon. Zhang Xiaobao reached out and pulled Wang Wan to sit on his lap, as he explained. Wang Wan didn't break free. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she understood what the other party thought of. She followed up, "You thought of a biological weapon? It's more difficult to collect poisonous gas than oxygen. It's not easy to take protective measures, but we can use incendiary bombs." Good idea. Let people study it as soon as possible. When we go to war, we can destroy all the trenches and bunkers. If they're really benevolent and righteous, how can they fight a war? You came over just to talk about this? You're so free that you're chatting with people instead of commanding. Let's see what you're going to do if you can't complete your tactical objectives. Feel. Let Dr. Ho feel your pulse. Wang Wan took Zhang Xiaobao's hand and handed it to the doctor surnamed Ho. She knew that he had reached the position of doctor. It was impossible not to pay attention to him. When they wanted to establish the Tang Academy of Sciences, they had to get him in. The doctor first felt Zhang Xiaobao's left hand, then his right hand. After feeling it, he said to everyone, "It's nothing." It seems that he was a little tired yesterday or in the last few hours. There's no need to get medicine. When it's time to eat, it's fine to have more meat. The doctor said it calmly. Wang Wan blushed and jumped down from Zhang Xiaobao's lap. She pulled a chair and sat there without saying anything. Zhang Xiaobao asked in surprise, "You can even tell? Isn't it too fake?" "How is it fake? Look at your pulse." "Stop talking. You're amazing. I'll eat crabs for dinner." Zhang Xiaobao didn't let the doctor continue. "Crabs won't do. It's cold. Besides, it's spring. Where are you going to find crabs? The crabs that were frozen last autumn don't taste good. If you want to eat seafood, you can eat sea fish or mutton. If there are cows, you can eat beef. Ordinary people can't eat it. You won't be lacking in beef." The doctor still had a serious look on his face as he discussed with Zhang Xiaobao about food and nutrition. Zhu Zan reminded him kindly, "Xiaobao, when Madam and I came over, we brought the yaks from our place. They're still alive. Along the way, they lost weight. Many of them died. We sold them to the restaurants that passed by. After we arrived in the capital, we've raised them for a few days. They should be fine. Let me tell you, those yaks. Let's talk about the main thing. I know that your yaks are good. I believe that Xiao Bao's body is also very good." "Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, how do you use the biological weapons and incendiary bombs that you mentioned?" Li Longji saw that the topic had changed and quickly corrected it. He was very interested in war weapons. He was always afraid that others would use advanced weapons to attack the Tang Empire. He felt that with every step forward in the research of weapons, the gap between the Tang Empire and the Tang Empire would shrink. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to explain the functions and effects of the two weapons. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't as professional as Wang Wan. Wang Wan had a very thorough understanding of the weapons. As she explained the functions, she also explained the tactical coordination around the weapons. Zhang Xiaobao mainly explained the reaction of the human body after being hit by the weapons. For example, the incendiary bombs. They burned for a long time and covered a large area. During the burning process, they produced poisonous gas and caused a lack of oxygen to the shallow underground fortifications. Hearing this, Li Longji and the others broke out in cold sweat. Cheetah Zuzan was also glad that his Tufan didn't persist. "Xiao Bao, according to what you said, there isn't an army in the world that could defeat a team with such weapons. Hurry up and research it." Li Longji wiped his sweat and said excitedly. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads at the same time and said together, "No, there's an army that can contend against them." "What army?" Li Longji asked in disbelief. "Our Tang Empire's army can do it. Perhaps the number of casualties will be several times more, but the enemy will definitely not retreat. Even if someone can blow up the mountain that our Tang Empire occupies and think that it is a land of death, if he dares to attack, he will still have to suffer a fierce counterattack." Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and said to Li Longji with a smile. Wang Wan replied with an affirmative smile, "Yes, our Tang Empire's army can do it. Even if we have to sacrifice several times more lives, in the end, what we are fighting for is not only the weapon, but also the soul of an entire nation. On the battlefield, what we display is the soul of an army. When 10 lives are exchanged for one of the enemies, what we are testing is the other party's will. The more advanced the weapon is, the more people cherish their lives. Some people fight for wealth, while others fight for glory. I am most afraid of encountering enemies who fight for survival. Thus, I have always requested that the soldiers of the Tang Empire have 2 things. First, they must learn knowledge so that they can immediately take over the position of the commander after his death. Even if they are alone, they must be clear of the strategy and tactics of the team. Second, they must have family members. It would be best if they have a few brothers with a wife and children. This kind of team is the strongest. In front of them is the enemy, but behind them is their family. So, they must use their lives to exchange for the enemy? Princess Jincheng asked. Yes, use their lives to exchange for the enemy until they tremble. Even if blood flows like a river, they must not retreat. If the soldiers of a country are afraid of death and turn around to flee or surrender when they see the enemy's ferocious attack, then that country deserves to be bullied. Zhang Xiaobao said. He thought of many small countries that were bullied. Basically, when the enemy's attack was a little fierce, they would be scared to death. They would invest tens of thousands of soldiers to defend the place, and hundreds of them would die. In the end, in 2 to 3 days, the place would be taken down by the enemy. If they were afraid of death, who could they blame? Sometimes, Zhang Xiaobao would think, and he had also discussed it with Wang Wan. If it was their national army, how could an army of tens of thousands be taken down in 2 to 3 days? They could just throw an atomic bomb. Otherwise, how big of a price would the enemy have to pay? Zhu Qida was unhappy. He thought that Zhang Xiaobao was talking about him. However, his men were not afraid of death. The main thing was that they lacked a good commander. Therefore, he said, Xiaobao, there are times when human strength is not enough, right? Oh, Zhang Xiaobao understood. I'm not talking about you. We are fighting because of internal conflicts. We are a family, just like brothers sometimes fight. When Cuckoo and I go to war, you still have to help take care of the logistics. We can rest assured. Li Longji also said, if I'm not talking about you, are we enemies? My sister is married to you. I'm talking about the enemy of the great Tang without a princess. Yes, that's what I meant. I'm just asking. What else could Zhu Qida say? Xiaobao, let's go back. They're still fighting. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao was fine and was concerned about the situation of the battle. Let's go back. I wanted to use other methods, but they didn't agree. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and pulled Wang Wan out. Li Longji and the others watched the two of them leave. They gathered together to discuss the matter that the two of them had just mentioned. The battle was still going on. Zhao Hanzhong was facing the same problem as Yang Chang. There were a total of 3 camps on the 100-meter high ground. There was one on the top of the mountain and one at the bottom of the mountain. With only 3 regiments, they were unable to charge over. After the cannon fire, they charged. Surprisingly, the enemy could still counterattack. It was very fierce. However, Zhao Hanzhong already knew what was going on. There was a problem with the fortifications and the direction of the wind. The wind blew against them. Regardless of whether the enemy was on the mountain or on the plains, they had fortifications. When the cannon fire landed, some of the fortifications were destroyed, while others were still standing. Furthermore, there was another layer of fortifications under the fortifications. The enemy's scarecrows were very effective. When a cannon fire hit them, the scarecrows were set ablaze. When his troops charged, other than the smoke from the cannon fire, there was also smoke from the scarecrows. If they charged too slowly, the effect of the cannon fire would be weakened. Moreover, if they were too far away, the smoke would be very uncomfortable. But if they charged too quickly, they would be in close contact with the enemy. They felt that the most shameless method of the other party was to not run when they countercharged. Instead, they would lie on the ground and quickly crawl and roll horizontally to change positions to advance. This was too demanding of their own marksmanship. There was already smoke, and they still had to hit the ground. The enemy would roll and advance without any pattern. They could only rely on confusion. When they came into contact with the enemy, it would be a bayonet against a broadsword or a spear. This was no joke. Yes, if they crawled forward, they would be less affected by the smoke. The natives are becoming more and more difficult to deal with. Zhao Hanzhong scratched his head in front of the sand table. Of course, he was just saying this out of anger. He didn't believe that the natives were so smart. Reporting, our troops attacking the mountain have been shot down again. The enemy used rolling logs. The messenger reported to Zhao Hanzhong. Rolling logs? Are there any nails on the logs? Zhao Hanzhong asked. Reporting, no, there are no nails. However, there are streaks in the middle of the logs. There are things that cause smoke. Wherever the logs roll, there is smoke. The messenger replied. Zhao Hanzhong nodded. Understood. When he looked at the sand table again, he suddenly slapped his head and said to himself, why was I so stupid? So what if I shot down the mountain? I'm not even defending. There are still troops behind me. Can't I just charge over? What will they do to me? Men, pass down my order. Gather 3 regiments of troops and advance with the cannon fire. Charge directly from the north of Highland 113. How can 3 regiments not be able to deal with your battalion? Zhao Hanzhong finally understood and gave the order. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.